I do have 6 o'clock.
All right.
Call to order the special meeting or meeting of area plan for December, what is today, the 18th? 18th. We'll stand for a pledge. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call, if you could call the roll, please.
Atkins.
Here.
Bothwell. Royals.
Here.
Caudell.
Here.
Couse. Hicks.
Here.
Hunt. Nevers. Knuckles. Pearson.
Here.
Todd. Wright.
Here.
Reed.
Here. So we do have a quorum, and we may, one more may show up. I don't see anybody online, so we will get started here. So our meeting is designed only to look at rules and procedures that we put off from the last meeting. Everybody should have a packet. If not, you guys got extra ones available, right? So I think we're starting on page 6. Is that about where we left off? I see a lot of red written on that page. Did we not start into this one a little bit?
Yeah, we were discussing,
Hiring and firing, who can,
hiring
right.
and
And Mr. Glickfield was you guys were supposed to work on wording to that.
he basically said he can see it. My point to him was, why would it be in my duties if I don't have the authority to do it instead of your duties? Kind of get that, they added hiring and firing to the executive director, but it's not in the commission's duties, it's in my duties. But again, whatever's fine. I mean,
I know when we were up in our meetings over the summer, that came up as far as, do you want to take on all that responsibility? I think that was kind of like, do you really want to have all that, right, Randy? I think that was the way you might have put it. Do you really want to take on all this without any guide? Well, I would imagine, really, if we're going to be letting somebody go, he would be communicating to us.
this is
That it
strictly.
shouldn't be something that would be, a surprise, put it that way.
This would on my end of it would strictly be time-wise. If we had someone quit or leave, that I could get going on hiring.
Okay, so you're looking at more on the other end, the hire,
Yeah. That's where we've had
the delay.
we had the one situation where I had to wait 3 weeks to even start doing applications one time. So that's just mine.
So then the question becomes, could the executive committee be called and make that decision in order to meet his time frame?
And I was good with Dr. Bothell's suggestion of conveying it to whoever's president
Mm-hmm.
and getting that okay to get started.
Yeah, I don't think if you're, you can always advertise, get the ball rolling. I mean, there's no action taken. It's not like we're adding a position, we're refilling a position.
What does HR say about that? Do they require that an official action take place? I mean, I know you had to get approval today in order to have the intern come in and work.
That was because of the MOU. We're not taking any liability for the intern.
Okay. And that's what waived the liability that we would have had.
So like if you would go to the recorder's office, the auditor's office, those departments, I mean, they don't go to hire and then go to the commissioners and say, hey, is this okay? So I think we would be the one of the few, I think health department might, if they're hiring, bring it in front of the health board. We're probably the only department in the building that has to bring it to the board to hire.
And why is that again? Why is it that we're not like the other departments?
Might be because we're a commission and not a department.
Right.
Would make sense to me, because we're
Could be.
commission where they are actually a department within the county government, and we're.
Is there guided by an elected official instead of an appointed official?
Well, let's see.
Well, the health board
is not, and they're saying they may or may not do what we have to do. But you're different departments, you got department heads that hire, well, yeah, they have fire, but I imagine they go with Justin and through whatever the
Right.
protocol is for discipline and steps along the way.
A good question, Randy, as far as why are we different? I don't know. I do know that we had that MOU that we did today. I mean, that was by law, we had to do that.
Now, what's a MOU, just
Method of operation.
a who?
No, it's a
Yeah.
memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
so what it
So, yeah,
does,
who's
it does-
responsible for what?
Yeah, I mean, what if that employee come back, or that person that was putting in their 15 hours and say, hey, you haven't paid me?
Okay,
We didn't have to pay you. You had it to, and then if they go back, well, we didn't say we'd do that. Now it's in writing, this is what they're gonna do.
Right.
15
Term and
hours a
con-
week, he's gotta make sure that he keeps them busy for 15 hours a week and stuff, and so nothing can come back on us from the employee or the East Central Indiana. what is it?
Regional Planning District.
It's like a title like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Bill Walters, and we're part of this region for economic development, and he just
Threw it out.
offered it, and it's like, hey, if that'd help their office input data into the system and stuff like that, that'd be perfect for this person to do, and take it off of them and let them go out and do what they need to do. That's-
Okay.
That's my
You're also
understanding.
part of who's helping us with the comp plan.
correct.
Oh, with that, I did talk to Tim Eckerly, just real quick, I know that's off subject. He is willing to be.
Part of that group, that selection
Okay.
committee.
Awesome.
Email that out to me.
What about the new guy, new person? Can we include them also? Is there a new person in economic development?
Not yet.
No, they're still, I went there first, they're still looking to hire,
Okay,
so that's why I thought.
I've got a meeting in the morning, we'll be discussing that. Hopefully, we may have somebody in the hopper.
Okay.
We thought we extended an offer. They chose to take another offer someplace else.
well, I think it makes sense if we're trying to develop a plan for the future,
Right.
that we
Yeah,
have the
that
future
person should be
involved.
there, right.
Absolutely.
That department. Yep, okay. All right, so let's get back. Personally, if he's the director, if they're in charge, I think they probably should. I mean, I would think consulting with whether it's executive, the president, HR, guidance through who's ever, like Justin now or whoever, that things are being done properly and documented. I don't have a problem with it. As long as it follows state statute, because I know there's some question in there. Is that something that we added in our rules back then, or what have you? So we all have to agree here tonight if we're gonna put it one way or the other, since there's just 7 of us here. So, but like I say, Ryan could go either way, but, so hiring, so it could be 2 different things, hiring, initiating, and then would we allow it to go all the way to full hiring, or does he need to run it by us, which it currently calls for? Or firing, or letting somebody go, also has to run through us. That would be that's how it is currently, right? Both ways, it has to run through us. So we could leave it alone, modify it where maybe the executive committee, right, would be involved, at least in the termination, not more so than, because that's, could be more of a legal thing to me. Or we let him have full control, the executive director.
I thought David said that the Indiana code read that it has to go through us.
Well, that's what I thought he mentioned something, but then you're saying he could see it either way.
He said that he can see it either way, is what he said. He said, I get your interpretation too.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't really, the biggest thing is, like I said, is time. I mean,
It is timing, when you, especially when we want to hire somebody.
That's my biggest, I mean, it'd be neat if I could say, hey Chuck, we lost such and such, can I get the application process started? That's fine.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, you're talking two weeks application and setting up,
interview.
interviews, so I know we're a month out, if you tell me yes,
Mhm.
we're a month out.
I don't see the application as being a
No,
problem. I
no.
see final approval being what we need to do for you. We should not be able to hold you up on sending an application
No,
and even
no.
beginning the interview process.
No,
That's what's happening.
yeah,
Well, we're not gonna do that.
yeah.
So.
Do we need that in
language-
writing?
So language-wise, I think we probably should put that in writing to protect Ryan, because I know those kind of things can kind of come back and backfire
Right.
on whoever's sitting in that seat, that if we don't have the language in there. So,
So the 825, director shall appoint and dismiss employees of the planning department. So we need to reword that. Or,
If that's the case, we can just do code. I mean, with, code would be subject to the approval of the commission, appoint and remove the employees of the planning department according to the standards and qualifications fixed by the commission and without regard to political affiliation. That's code.
it
word
pretty
for
well
word.
states what we're looking to do.
so you can do everything up and get it all prepared, then present it to us. On both sides, hiring and letting somebody go.
I mean, if you wanted that specifically to send an application, just add another 8 point whatever, if you wanted that.
No, I mean, as long as we got the other, if I need it, start it before they come in, before they're hired, they go before you. I mean, obviously, if we lose someone, you guys are gonna know about it pretty quick.
Right, right. But that lets you start the process ASAP on getting somebody in. The other end of it, we should be totally aware of what's going on, or of what's going on if we got an employee that's needs to be terminated. So that should not be a surprise. It better not be a surprise. Okay, so that was kind of in the middle of all that red ink. How was the first part, so?
Everything else is code to the T until we get down to 8.2.8.
8.2.8.
And that's the maintenance of the current roster and qualifications of its members, including records of attendance. That is actually inside of the zoning ordinance.
Okay,
So code 36-7-4-312 is 1 through 7.
okay,
I figure we can take 8.2.8 and just scoot it out to an 8.3,
okay. And then move everything down?
not confused with the code.
Okay, pull it out from, so to make that its standalone? Okay. And then the numbers would change going down.
So 8.3 would become 8.4?
Right.
Okay. And then 8.41, 8.42.
The only thing that I saw that might need to just wording on the what's typed there, 8.3.1, it talks about the commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that zoning appeals probably should not be in there since we're just talking about our rules?
Just told him I was going to a meeting a while ago.
It's off now.
Yeah, mine is too.
Each planning commission shall prescribe the qualifications of, and with the consent of the executive director of the department.
Nope, the next one down, 8.3.1, 8.3.1.
Yep, yeah.
That doesn't need to be in,
Planning commission.
just planning commission. Mhm. Okay. That's what I figured, but, okay. So my copy has from 8.3.2 down to the bottom of the page is all black, so that's what's currently in our stuff or in our rules?
And you'll need to change that to 8.4.
Right, those will change.
Change it, okay.
Each one of those will change.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be 8.3, that'd be 4, 5, and 6. So we want to follow our same procedure and vote on each page as we go along? Is there any other questions on this page?
Now, Chuck, there is a little bit of variation between the new copy and the one I think you're working from. Because on the new copy that Ryan issued with updates up to that point, Technical Advisory Committee 9.1 is on page 6.
Okay. Well, then I might be,
Am I correct with that, Nicole? You don't have the old one, do you?
They have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'm backwards. Maybe
Oh.
the new one ends there and the old one doesn't.
page 7 starts 9.1 for me, but.
Yeah,
as
me
long-
too.
Yeah, it's just they had it.
Okay, you're right.
Oh, okay, I see that. Okay, just to get over to the other page.
You're right.
Okay, okay. All right. So,
So we're going
Page
to approve
6.
page 6 of the new copy.
I guess. Yeah, that 9 technical advisory actually goes at the title of the other page. Any other discussion before you wrap this one up on this page? I guess if we're going to follow past things, we need a motion and a second, and then we can vote.
I move we accept it as, with the modifications we just made.
Okay. And we got a second. David, and then Jerry. And then we'll call the roll.
Atkins?
Yes.
Royals?
Yes.
Caudell?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
and Reed.
Yes. Okay, so page 7, missing the title of Technical Advisory Committee at the top. 9.1 on is talking about the Technical Advisory Committee. So these are, this is all black, the whole page. So this is currently what we have in our rules and procedures?
But what was added, we added commercial wind and solar to the 5 point, the old was 5.3.1. To that header, we added the commercial wind and solar, 9.1 and 9.2 and 9.3 were added. 9.2, of that, the 9 that are there, we added a member of the county council, and we added a member of the commissioner of the town board. They're added to the advisory committee.
Okay, so maybe we need to read through this and just make sure we understand what we're, Technical Advisory Committee shall represent and review all petitions for subdivision plot approvals, subdivision plot amendments, and commercial wind or solar energy systems.
And if you'll remember, this isn't in code, this is just talked about in code, that we could have an advisory committee, can be called for, but it doesn't outline. So we already had it in our ordinance before. If you want me, I got my old workbook, so I've got the codes, and
Okay.
the Indiana planning interpretations, all that stuff.
So Ryan, help me understand why the one we had before had red on page, more red on page 7 than what the new one does. Because I thought the red would have been,
Red would be your change, would be the changes.
because, the old one had 9.1 through 9.3 as new
Right.
in the
Okay, well, my copy doesn't, so what about your copies up
the
there?
new one
Okay.
doesn't have that in red.
Okay, all right. So 9.1, so the one thing, and I don't know, I'm just asking a question, it says, the very first line, the Technical Advisory Committee shall be responsible for review of all petitions for subdivision plat approval, subdivision plot amendments. Do we currently do that? Because it says shall, it doesn't say may.
It has, according to everyone I've talked to who's been around, who would be on this,
Mm-hmm.
like a David
Right,
Wright,
right. We've never done it.
Jim Todd, never met.
Never met.
But this is
because the word shall means it should be done every time we have. I know we don't do subdivisions that often, although we've done some minor ones, I think. And as far as I know, we've never gone through that, so I think maybe depending on the size of the project, okay, let's say we have solar, that's a big project, yes, you probably want to do that. But if it's just a, I hate to say, a subdivision, it's maybe not as
Like those
cumbersome.
Like the little three. they
Right.
Upland. just
Right,
two
just
off.
that maybe you wouldn't need to bring all this or
For
That-
a minor, 4 or less,
something, like yeah, there might be,
we've got the same thing in solar. For the minor on solar would be, it gives the option to. in this whole ordinance. Major, it says it will go through it, minor says you have the option.
so that wording there, I mean, if we're going to follow it, it should say, then we should do it for all, or do you change it to may somehow, or?
Are you
Just
on 9-1, Chuck? I'm lost.
9.1,
Okay.
yep, 9.1, 9.1.
And we're trying to distinguish between major and minor solar?
No, right now it says it would be for all of it, even when we do small subdivision plots and things like that, that this technical committee should be getting together to review.
I think that's overkill.
Right, for that, but it says that technically we should. Well, we don't do it now, so maybe we should word it the way that we actually operate, and yes, I think it should be good. You do need something like that on big projects.
I could ask a question. So is this IC code? Is this Indiana code?
This, in Indiana code, I have to go back and find it, but it says the technical review or advisory committees can be put together for.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But when I try to go and find an actual, okay, what is it? It's not.
It's not in there. Okay. So this is our rules then? is
So
what we're
it's
doing.
mentioned in code, but this is 20 years ago when they come up.
Gotcha.
And because I added the commissioner and the council member because it could involve tax abatements.
Right, and all that.
Could involve, like, especially town boards and stuff. If we're gonna do a 20-home subdivision in Van Buren, you guys probably would be included.
Right.
So, that's why I added those two.
I mean, we put shall in there.
I know, that's the thing. That-
You should.
So do you change it to
Right.
like may?
And then who determines, is it may or shall? That's a
Yeah.
slippery slope, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because again, you can get divided responses to that. I mean, do you leave the word shall in there and we just do it on every one? I agree with Mr. Atkins when it comes to
My-
overkill, but in the same token,
Right. Maybe that's the way it
I
should be
don't
done.
know, I don't know how you would differentiate that.
How about you call it can,
Yeah,
then you have an option.
well,
How are you gonna determine what size it is?
Yeah.
You know, whether you would have one or not.
well, we know major solar would, at least you're indicating. Major wind, major solar, major subdivisions.
What if it was just for commercial wind or solar?
And drop out the,
Drop out the others. If we're not doing it, doesn't seem sensible to have it. But obviously for wind or solar, we'd want it, I would think.
you could maybe,
Some of the bigger subdivisions, you're gonna want it too.
And-
I mean, that's a lot of drainage, a lot of.
So how do we determine what's a small subdivision, what's a big one, what's,
Four plots or less.
Is small.
Right now would be a minor subdivision.
okay. Then that's on the books that way.
If it was larger than that,
Then you would,
then it basically would call for.
well, so maybe we should put that number 4 plots or less as a break for, it would seem to make sense.
I think you need to work on some criteria, such as he's saying, a lot of certain size, solar field of certain, or, solar development certain size, so that we can actually get some meat in what this is saying, so there's not questionableness about it. And we don't have to do that tonight. I think you need to think about that, Ryan. What do you believe that the best that the need for the technical committee would be? What type of a development, and what exceptions to that do you feel are there? You got it?
The solar ordinance with me. I'm trying to think of what it actually says.
And this is kind of timely because I know one of the things that's coming out of the READY grants is housing, and how we are really behind the eight ball on housing development. When there's development happening, like over in Gas City and stuff, and I know they've got their own planning department, but going over into Upland and places like that. I mean, there are developments that's really starting to happen.
Right.
And so I truly believe, you know, whether that's 4 or less we don't, 4 or more we do.
Yep.
I think that's a great thing to have in here, and then that way there's no question, because here's our rules.
I mean, we just had a situation in Upland where they were gonna do that 4 house in that little bitty plot of ground. We were worried about drainage and all of that. I mean, so I think there is grounds for even developments of that size to have some input from sources other than just us sitting around here trying to decide if we should let that happen or not.
Or whatever they do in the subdivision, where it's 1 house or 20, you need to have drainage, make sure they can drain the thing.
Correct.
Right.
And I don't know, if like subdivision plans, they probably have to have that kind of laid out. If they're, I mean, you can just subdivide, that's one thing, and put lots, but if you're gonna start developing, I would think you'd have to have the sewers, drainage.
I mean, to me, shall. We will, on every project. I
Okay.
think that way
Like
you,
I said, subdivisions, 4 or less or minor. I don't know the exact wording in the solar, but basically a minor would call for it, major does. I think minor leaves it open to
I think you'd always,
necessary type of
yeah,
thing.
unless you word it in there, or as deemed necessary, if you do cut out the minors.
Can you leave it upon the discretion of the APC? Because the other thing you're looking at here, if somebody wants to do something and, you know, consider to be falling under this criteria, how long is it gonna take the technical committee to come to a conclusion if that individual wants to move forward with the
Right.
development? Are we hindering development if we,
possibly could be.
Right, if it's a small project, and you're supposed to get buy-off on all these or input.
That is kind of put in there as far as in the timely fashion. That goes back to something like we said today, as far as if I have, someone brings an application into me. If we can look at it and it meets code, then I have to move forward in a timely fashion on it. But it also gives me the additional time if I need engineering architects. Once it comes out of the advisory committee, it's actually when the time clock starts. So, I mean, once it comes out of advisory and I present to you guys, then you're 60 days to a public hearing. Once you guys put forth a recommendation, I have 10 days to certify it before the commissioners have to have it in their hands. I mean, so the whole 60 days to 90 days to 45 days, all that starts once I bring it here.
So the behind the scenes, the prep,
Yeah, but as far as handing it out.
As long as you're doing it in a timely manner.
Approvals, that is a timely fashion. So it basically lets us, it tells us that we need to hurry, but we're not timing.
well, as long as you're showing due diligence, I think that's the main thing on any project, right?
That's from the actual administration of the building code. So that's where I got that at.
so under this wording, would that 4 deal that was before us, would it have had to gone through the technical advisory committee?
No.
And what
They were
would exempt it?
townhouses. They were
Huh?
townhouses.
And it was a special exception. I mean, the ground was already there, it was
They
already
were-
zoned the correct
Yeah, they were
way,
doing a
correct?
variance for coverage and.
That's what they were doing. It was
Okay.
variance
So that's-
that they were
that's-
asking for. So really, it wouldn't have to come here on a
Okay.
project like that was already, to me, that was already developed in a housing type thing. They're just changing the,
a variance?
yeah.
Requesting something
yeah,
within the,
5 foot.
And when it comes to townhouses, as long as there's 3 or more, I mean, if they had the room, they could have went 15 more. They're each considered single-family dwellings.
Leave it shall.
okay. Oh, well, good discussion, but
Yeah, it
we
is.
came all the way around, and maybe that's the way it should be. Okay, leave it.
And so the only one change, or 2 changes, Ryan, was the commercial wind and solar energy systems, and then a representative from the county council. Is that what you said?
I added council and commissioners or town board.
Those are the only changes on this, the rest of this page, is that correct?
Yeah, because there were 7 prior, there's 9 now.
Okay.
I still don't understand why when we talked about it, this was in red and it's not here today. I don't,
I don't know why it's in.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, I've got both mine.
so you don't think
mine's
these were
not
actual
red.
changes from the one we were working from before?
No, that is, I mean, the one you've got in red, the 911, 912, 913, that is what was added.
See, none of mine's in red.
All mine's black.
Yeah,
So
mine's
I don't know.
You guys got your old copies?
Yeah, I got both the old and the new.
It is.
You got a special copy.
So I think if we're gonna work with the assumption that those aren't changes,
Yeah.
they need to
Well,
not be changes.
right,
If they're
right.
changes, then we need to identify them as
Well,
changes.
would you want to read the ones in red to make sure it follows the ones in black here?
I could do that.
Yeah, let's do that. That way we know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Just let us know where you're at.
Well, he's comparing his red and blacks.
No, I was just gonna have him read them.
You want me to read it in red or you want me to read it in black?
Read it in red, so we'll follow you in black.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about that?
I can do that. 9.11, the Technical Advisory Committee, under the direction and coordination of the Area Plan Executive Director, shall act in a timely fashion, but will not be constrained by time in matters that may require additional professional services such as engineers, architects, or studies.
That's in red?
That's in red.
So that's totally different than what we got in black
I
here.
got more red.
Huh?
That was word by word.
Okay, 9.1.2, in red, the Technical
Oh, okay.
Advisory Committee shall meet within 30 days of the receipt of any petition,
That's what we have in black.
okay?
Okay.
9.1.3, the Technical Advisory Committee shall be responsible for ensuring completion of all application requirements prior to presentation to the Area Plan Commission.
We
That
have all
was in
that.
red,
Yep.
Same.
okay?
Right.
So, when we go on down with what's in
Yeah,
red?
anything that you see in red.
Okay.
Randy, what we'll do, we'll
All right,
just kind of go through this.
10.2, quorum.
10.2.
The majority of the members of the board shall constitute a quorum per Indiana Code, IC 36-7-4-910. Okay? Now, is that
That's black here.
verbatim?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
just, that was adding the quorum. And actually, I moved, I moved quorum there and brought official action up right underneath of it.
Yes. Official action is in red. 10.2.1 is in red. Action of the Area Plan Commission is not official unless it is authorized by a majority of the entire membership of the board per IC 36-7-4-911. Okay?
Yep.
And then I've got some, 10.4 is more lengthy in red than what it is on the new version. It carries over. So I'm not sure, how the pages got off, but
You want to read 10.4
That's for
in red?
special meetings?
I'd be happy to do that.
If you would.
Special meetings. Special meetings of a plan commission may be called by the president or by 2 members of the commission upon written request to the executive director office. The executive director shall send to all members at least 3 days before the special meeting a written notice fixing the time and place of the meeting per Indiana Code 36-7-4-307. Written notice of a special meeting is not required if, and then there's a semicolon. And I'm guessing that goes over to, it would, it'd go on to the next page.
Ours is going on to 10.4.1.
Right.
Is that what you're seeing on your next page?
The
there?
next page is 10.4.1,
Yep,
and that's all in red.
Okay.
okay.
Written notice.
You want to read that as well?
10.4.1. In red, the date, time, and place of a special meeting are fixed in a regular meeting, and then it goes to 10.4.2. All members of the commission are present at that regular meeting. 10.4.3, when a special meeting is called by two or more members of the commission, those members shall set the agenda for the special meeting. It is their meeting, although they may yield to the president to preside over the meeting, says reference section 7.1.1. That's in red.
Everything to 10.4.2 is code, 10.4.3 we put together, all for the special meetings.
Now, is that the way, I knew we had language for the special meeting before. Is this the old language or is this new language? I could probably tell you that too, because I should have
And
the
most
old language.
307 is pretty much word for word. And kind of what we did there is we got all the meetings in one spot, because they were spread out.
So you think that's why you put it in red? Because it was a change to the
I
old?
moved it. They got moved to executive session, executive committee, regular meetings, special meetings, all kinds of meetings are there together.
That might be the reason this went to black, because it was in there originally. But maybe that copy that you have there,
Shows the movement.
So the red would have required it to be considered a change based from the old one, the
Right.
old rules and procedures. Not necessarily the text, but relocation calls it to be red. This, okay. You with me, Frank?
but everything that you
Tried
read,
to be there.
everything that you read, I think we was reading right along with you.
Okay.
What we had, okay, so,
That's why I did this workbook to begin with, 'cause it was all,
So before we get too far
Do
away,
we need to go back
President
and
Brady,
approve?
do we want
We
to
should
approve?
we probably go from 9.1 to 10.4.3.
10.4.
Right.
Well, if you're gonna do pages, you
Okay.
go by 7,
Page 7?
yeah.
Because that's all on your page 7 and a little bit page 8 on mine. Or we're just going to go page 7. Okay, we'll make, anybody want, whoa,
Where you going?
I don't know. Down.
China.
That happened to me today.
All right, we need a motion and a second if we want to approve page 7.
I move we approve page 7.
David? Jerry, you shaking your head? We'll make it simple on you, keep them the same.
All
To
right.
approve, I think everything was correct. After discussion, we stayed with what we had, right?
That's correct.
All right. Call the roll when you're ready.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
so everything in there for regular meeting and special meeting is exactly the same. It's only we pulled 4.1, 4.2 we pulled out, because that's the way Indiana code has it, and then we added .3. Everything else is the same.
Again, that's what we covered in the red that you had there.
So it's, in our old ordinance, it was 4.1 and 4.2, in our new ordinance, it's 10 and the 10s.
Okay. So executive committee meeting, 6 members. I think currently on the books, we currently have 7. We did not change that by any vote along the way, I don't think, did we?
The discussion
Remember-
was whether the surveyor is actually a voting member and whether he would be considered as that quorum member.
But I think
I
our,
remember that.
yeah. But I think the recommendation is to just stay under it,
Right.
Because of the
to stay at 6, so you don't have any ifs, ands, or buts
I
about
don't think
having-
Jim was going to be disappointed if he wasn't on it.
Probably not.
Now, by Indiana code, does he have to be on it?
Does not have to be on.
Yeah, I think he was okay with saying, okay.
That was in our ordinance, but not in Indiana code.
Okay. So, executive committee meeting, 6 members. Well, let's go back. We're talking about executive meetings and how you gotta notify. So previously, an executive committee, we already did that back on page 4. We've already addressed that, back on page 4. The makeup of it and have the size. So that's really, yeah. So this is just talking about meetings and how you gotta advertise or not advertise or procedures for it. Okay. So, let's see here, public notice of date, time, and place of the executive committee meeting shall be given at least 48 hours, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays before the meeting. A majority of the executive committee may act in the name of the commission, but if there is any dissenting vote, a person voting in the minority may appeal the decision of the executive committee to the entire APC, which we've talked about that before, so it is kind of like a check and balance in there. The executive committee may not decide matters requiring public hearings and/or majority vote for all members of the commission. That's pretty straightforward there. I don't think I have any questions on that. And that could go back into, going back if we needed to hire or fire something, if everybody in that group kind of agrees, then they could act at that point, would be the understanding, right? If somebody has a problem with it, can hold it up and bring it to the whole group.
Now, 5.3 and 10.5.2 are repetitive. They're saying the same thing.
Which one's that?
5.3
Way back
and 10.5.2 are saying the same thing. We need it in there twice.
Oh, I see. Well, that's the executive, the powers. I see what you're saying there.
That it doesn't cause a problem?
I don't know.
It
It's not
is repetitive.
It's not contradicting.
No, it's
It's
just
just,
Right, it's just-
so I guess if you're reading in this area, you don't have to go back and find. It kind of explains it in both places.
Works for me.
That way you don't have to look and find out, yeah. Back to verbiage, but for clarification. Okay. Executive session, which is different. That is the full commission. Executive session by the planning commission meeting for which the public is excluded may be held where authorized under Indiana Code 5-14-1.5 through 6.1. So public notice of date, time, place of executive session shall be given at least 48 hours, excluding the Saturday, Sunday, and legal holidays before the meeting. No final action may be taken in executive session. Final action must be taken at a meeting open to the public. And I would imagine that Indiana Code kind of spells out what we can specifically talk about. You just can't talk about anything. It's usually hiring, firing, legal matters. It's just not general business type thing. And that's usually stated on the notice why we're having it, employee matters or legal matters. And that's what you should stick to when you're at those type of meetings. Okay, 10.7 is a cancellation. If no business is scheduled before the planning commission, or if it is apparent that a quorum will not be available, the president may cancel any meeting by giving notice to all members prior to the set time for each meeting. If no quorum is present at the meeting, the president shall cancel the meeting, and all items scheduled to be heard shall be rescheduled by staff. I believe that's how we currently do it. Recess. Any meeting may be recessed from day to day or to the time of any previous announced regular meeting or special meeting, and such recess to a specific time and place shall not require additional public notice. No new information shall be submitted at a public hearing that has been recessed from the previous day or time. That's the whole there.
Okay, so I understand why no notice would have to be given to the public if it was an executive session, because they can't attend anyway. If a public meeting is canceled, are we required to give notice of that? Let's say, this is a public meeting. In
Right.
the event that we wouldn't have a quorum, what would have been our requirements to notify the public that we weren't having it? They just show up and find out?
More or less, because it's short notice, because it may only be half an hour before the meeting, or sometimes we know in the morning when they make the calls around.
Okay. Just wondered if
Unfortunately,
there
there's
was-
not a good news type.
But if there's no business, there's no action, so there's no
Okay,
newsworthiness except for the meeting was canceled, I guess.
okay.
Recessing,
It's kind of,
that's like,
it's a lot of gray.
well,
To me,
I think the recess, if you're in a public hearing, let's say you have a public hearing, which I think we've maybe messed up before, but if you're in a public hearing, you have both sides talk, and then you close the public hearing, and you're still wanting to discuss, and it's getting late, and you recess it, and we're gonna talk about it later. Then you come back at the next meeting, it should pick up where you left off.
Right.
You shouldn't have any more new information brought to you, unless maybe in the recess we're wanting to find some more facts or something. If that was part of the discussion. No new information shall be
Is
submitted.
that straight from state code, the recess?
That is, cancellation and recess is from our original ordinance. Word for word unchanged.
Anything related to state code in that
Yep.
area?
So that's how we got it. So if
Kind of
it's-
murky, isn't it? On the recess. I'm okay with the
Do we ever do it?
cancellation, but the recess is.
Have we recessed before?
well, we continued or tabled, well, I wouldn't say tabled till the next meeting to pick up more discussion. Tabling is kind of like recessing, wouldn't you think? No? Table the matter, you may or may not bring it back up.
Really, we kind of recessed this.
We
Think
did.
about it.
We did, you're right, Jerry.
Mhm.
Yeah, tabled, I mean, when I think about tabled, I think about bringing it back up at the next meeting. I mean, we had to do that on a couple things today because either the auditor wasn't quite ready
Right,
for it.
right.
Or the health board hadn't got us the information, so we had to table it. It was on our agenda,
Right.
but we had to table it. And so we know we're gonna be bringing it back up. So the recess thing, I mean, the way it reads, I mean, if we follow that procedure, I think we're fine if we do something like that, where it says no new information shall
Right.
be submitted. And again, I think at the time, if there was new knowledge,
It would be beneficial.
that would be beneficial for a discussion for this board. And if we felt like opening it back up to the public because of new information that this board found out,
That might
I
be
don't
why
have a problem.
that might be why you're recessing, because you need to find out
Yeah.
the ins and outs or what's going on.
So I don't know if we'd want to remove maybe the no new information shall be submitted at a public hearing? I don't know.
On a recess, I think you would want to do that, 'cause that's why you possibly.
I'm sorry?
I feel that if you're gonna recess something.
That's probably why you're doing
You're
it.
gonna recess for that reason. Now, if you table something, it may be 2 or 3 meetings before
Right.
you come back to that.
Right.
For that, so I don't think you would allow new information, because that's probably why you're recessing.
Right, that
On
that
that
makes sense.
Should we strike that last sentence then? No new information sentence?
Yeah, I think we should.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because to me, when you got recess, you got more time to study it, and take a look at it and stuff. And again, now, when it comes to the public hearing portion of it, is that, because that's what it's saying there, no new information shall be submitted at a public hearing that has been recessed from a previous day or time. I don't know, I struggle with that.
What did we do when the paper company and the Shannon family on Lincoln Boulevard or
Right.
Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
We carried that over. What did we actually,
I think we tabled.
because we allowed new information to come
That's
in.
correct.
Because he didn't feel that he had been notified adequately to be prepared
No.
to get a consensus of those around him. So what action did we
You
take?
know, Mr. McCoy also brought in a drawing at least
Mm-hmm.
that we could take a look at, to what it would be and things like that. I mean, those were things that we discussed in the meeting.
And he had submitted that information in a timely fashion for it to be presented to the APC.
Correct.
So did we table that? What did we do?
No, new
I'm thinking, how would the recess work with the, I mean, for a public hearing, you've gotta have, 10 days prior posted, all that sort of good stuff. I mean, is
Well,
that
public
part of why
hearing-
you can't add?
A public hearing you have, and usually you get to closing the public hearing.
Correct.
So then if we recess to find out more information, for more fact-finding, that may be needed from either side, I guess, technically, or for us.
Well, I think if you recessed it from one meeting and adjourned it to the next meeting, they're farther than 10 days apart, you'd already established your agenda for the next meeting, so there'd be your 10 days.
I mean, is it
Yeah.
part of like they happen to have 10 days and can't,
Yeah,
some
well, no,
limitations, is that part of it?
Well,
Well, it's
although if
already
we go
been-
back up and call for meetings, as long as it's made at a regular scheduled meeting, to reschedule, even if it wasn't 10 days, if we're doing it at a regular scheduled meeting, you should be able to schedule it quicker than, let's say we wanted to come back, it was midnight, we want to come back the next evening. Everybody's aware of the meeting that we're currently at.
So by closing a public hearing, it gets you, you don't have to advertise that, right? Because the public hearing has been heard.
Has been heard.
Well, if it's closed,
If it's
Yeah.
closed, that's what I'm
and
saying.
then discussion.
Then there's discussion, then if there's discussion that we think we need more information, then we may ask it from the office.
And see, to me, the
We
more.
may ask it from
To me,
the,
the more information we ought to be able to share with the people, and
Right.
they respond to that in a public hearing.
well, some of the information we may be asking the petitioner to provide,
Yeah,
or maybe challenger or whatever. But that'd be information coming back for us. It wouldn't necessarily open up where then we could have more public comment.
Right.
Because the public hearing was closed. It'd be more for us to do our due
Right,
diligence to
right.
find the right. So it's no new information submitted by, they should provide it to us. I don't think we need, per se, they would present it. They would need to provide it. Because if we let them present it, then you're saying that, then the opposition should have a chance to rebut, I guess.
We'll leave that for David to read over and help clarify to us what it means.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
yeah,
I like
I do
that.
too.
Because you're saying that that wasn't code, that is something that was written up in our ordinance before.
Original
So
ordinance.
there's not state statute relating to recessing.
Well, there, I mean,
That's a
There
great
probably
idea.
are.
not in our code.
Okay.
I'm sure if I went back, it may be in court code or something like that.
All right, so David's gonna look at that. Because I think our understanding is we would want more information, right?
If we're recessing.
Right.
Unless it's a time thing, like you said, midnight, okay, we
Yeah.
gotta get on with the night, right? I mean,
Right.
get home.
Right.
But, if we're recessing to find out more information for us,
I think it's, yeah.
to me, I mean, I think it would be a good thing. If we're.
You just don't have the thinking that whoever put that in there had about why it needed to be there.
Correct. Yeah. But I think it's a great idea to ask Mr. Glickfield. His
Yes,
thought,
that's-
his
yes,
thoughts.
that's out of the in-house item. Notice of public meetings.
That I believe was added.
Was that
I added that. That, we didn't have that in.
the notice of public meeting? Was not originally in the original, so it's probably in red in yours there,
It's
Randy?
in red, yes.
It's in red.
Let me read it.
Okay.
Please.
Public notice of the date, time, and place of any meetings, executive sessions, executive committee, or of any rescheduled or reconvened meeting shall be given at least 48 hours, excluding Saturday, Sunday, and legal holidays before the meeting. This requirement does not apply to reconvened meetings, not including executive sessions, where announcement of the date, time, and place of the reconvened meeting is made at the original meeting and recorded in the memorandum and minutes therefore, or thereof, and there is no change in the agenda per Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-5. We assuming you pulled that directly from Indiana Code without variation?
Yeah. That's right.
Word for word.
I see, I've got IC 5141, oh, that's for agenda.
He'll take all the help you can give him, Nicole.
Yeah, I've got R codes here, but IC codes get back into the actual meetings. We had the public hearing in the ordinance, but not the public meeting in the ordinance. So that's where I wanted to get the public meeting in.
Just common to what you guys do, is what you have to do as a commissioner? So is this just public meeting, general statement for all public meetings?
To a degree, yes. I mean, council has to do the same thing. If there's something in front of them. Same way with the health board. There's public meetings that they have.
I know schools fall under a different Indiana code, but they have the same,
Yeah, you guys, I'm
Defined
sure
language.
We're governed by
Yeah.
state statute as well.
help him, Nicole.
He keeps going down one and is getting confused.
Because in my workbook and what we've got here are in complete different orders.
Okay.
And so it's like we had meetings in 3 different places, so to do meetings, have to look at 3 different places.
When I do like condensing to where meetings are in one spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Responsibilities is in another
So
spot.
with that, the notice of public meeting, 10.9, and if we go back, actually just the page before where it has regular, talking about regular meetings, is regular meeting and notice of a public meeting, are they not more or less the same thing? A regular,
Well,
but it does not, it does not maybe outline the agenda. Public notice, we schedule meeting requirements does not apply.
this more or less goes to our regular meetings.
Well, that just, okay, that's just letting people, public notice of meetings, so it covers all the meetings, regular meetings, executive session, executive committee, and rescheduled, any rescheduled or, this does not apply to reconvening meetings or announced at the date and place. Regular. I think it's okay the way it is. It is a little bit different wording in there, spelling out the different types of.
Now, Ryan, you had added in red under 1010, notice of public hearing, oh, we're not there yet, right? We're going to do meetings, okay.
I'm not finding it in here. It's gotta be close to word for word. But I can't completely verify it.
But then it is a little if the title of 10.9 is notice of public meeting, public knows the date, time, but executive sessions would not be a public meeting. Executive committee, because it's not a quorum, is not an executive, or it's not a public meeting.
We're not gonna be able to approve this page tonight anyway because of the Glickfield question in 10.8. Why don't we go ahead and let Ryan have a little bit of time to take a look at that one?
10.9.
My
We can
thoughts the
move
same.
on and keep on going.
All right,
Does that sound all right?
yep, review,
So we won't approve page 8 yet until,
Okay.
that makes sense.
makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so public hearing, that's a little bit different ballgame. All petitions not initiated by the board. A legal notice of public hearing shall be prepared by the area planning office and advertised in the newspapers or of the petitioner's choice. 10 calendar days prior to the meeting, the petitioner shall assume the cost of said notice, and one copy of the affidavit from the publisher shall be submitted. Oh, there we go, to the boarding zone of appeals prior to the public hearing. So that needs to change for us, right? Shouldn't be zoning board of appeals, it should be for our area planning commission prior to the public hearing. Got it? Okay. The area planning office shall serve notice to the owners of the properties directly adjacent to the properties in questions, including property across a public right-of-way or municipal boundaries. Such notifications about be by certified mail with return receipt shall be postmarked not less than 10 calendar days prior to the public hearing. Okay, and then the notice shall include the following: substance of the petition, general location of the property by common address, acreage, sections, and township, name of the person or agency initiating the petition, time, date, and place of the hearing, statement that the petition is on file at the Grant County Area Planning Office, statement that the interested parties may offer an oral opinion at the hearing or may file written comments concerning the petition no less than 2 business days prior to the hearing. And then any other information which may be requested by law to be contained in this notice.
Was any of that in your red, Randy?
The Indiana Code 5-3-1-2 is in red. And then down below that, Indiana Code 36-7-4-604 is in red.
Okay, I think you probably added that to show where you got that information from.
Adding code, and we also previously made the change to the certified mail.
Right, because we did that
Yes.
earlier. So that's a change that we did already,
Okay.
is on the books.
Now, when it says notice shall include the following, what do we actually do? I mean, that's a lot of information in our public hearing notice. Do you have a form that you use, generic form?
Brenda's got a checklist, so.
Okay.
She goes through and as far as getting it on file, getting it out to the papers, getting it on the doors, sending it out. But yeah, she's got a complete checklist she goes through.
So this public notice, that's what would go in the newspaper? Or who would that go to?
Yep.
Public
One
notice.
of the things is the newspaper.
Yeah.
Would it be posted on the
Would be
door?
Published, posted on the doors, sent out to all adjacent property owners. And this is the information we'd include in it.
Okay, so that would all be included in the certified mail?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so except for the changing that,
Do we put signs in yards and stuff like that when, right?
Well, we usually give them a sign, or if we forget, we'll run out and put it out.
So is that anywhere in this, that we do that? I mean, I didn't read that, but I thought we did that. Anytime there's a, whether it's through the BZA or the APC, if we're taking a look at a rezoning, we put signs out for rezoning, right?
Yes.
So is that in this rules and procedures anywhere? And if not, I think we should have it in here. Again, giving the public a chance to come and speak for or against.
Unless it falls in, or we put it in that last item, any other information that may be required by law.
And I'm not,
Contained in this,
I don't know,
that's just in the
is it
notes.
sign law that we have to do that, or is that just something that
No,
we?
we have to put a sign up.
So we probably should list it then. You're right. I think you're right there. We
Good
gotta get it
catch.
listed somehow. Whether it's in the wording in 10.10 or a separate line item. Because the petitioners, airplane office shall serve notice to the owner. Yeah, it could go in that. And then I'm assuming it needs to be up at least 10 days, probably too.
10 days prior, yeah.
Okay. So you want to put it as a point item, or you want to put it up in the wording of the airplane office shall serve notice to owner of the property directly adjacent to property in question? And then before we talked about certified mail, put it in there. Yard sign,
Such an-
advertising, public hearing. Put it in there rather than a bullet point.
Yeah, I'll include it up there. Let me see what our notice says.
Okay.
I know it's on our notice. That's a good catch. Can't believe it's not in here.
All right. Any other questions on notice of public hearings?
Do we actually know what might be other information required by law? Is there an Indiana code that,
I've got 604 here. It's 2 pages long.
okay.
So there might be other things that, depending on what it is, they're petitioning for.
Basically, before the planning commission certifies a proposal to the legislative body under section 605 of this chapter, the planning commission must hold a public hearing under this section. Then it goes into, planning commission shall give notice of the hearing by publication under IC 5-3-1. The notice must state, and then you have what it must state. This goes into a lot of subs. Time and place of the hearing. 2 is either, in case of a proposal under 606 or 607 of this chapter, geographic areas or zoning districts in a specific geographic area to which the proposal applies, or B, in the case of a proposal under section 608 of this chapter, geographic area that is the subject of the zoning map change. We put general location of the property by common address, acreage, so I think we've dumbed it down. This is what we had before, so. I think we've kind of generalized it.
So 10.10.7 basically spells out the long form of all that.
Yeah, then 3 has A, B, and C. We've got name of person or agency initiating the petition. 4, if the proposal contains or would add or amend any penalty or forfeiture provisions, the entire text of those penalties or forfeit provisions. 5, the place where a copy of the proposal is on file for examination before the hearing. 6, the written objections to the proposal that are filed with the secretary of the commission before the hearing. So this is kind of getting way off base, it looks like. 7, the oral commitments concerning the proposal will be heard.
Well, that'd be more of a meeting than it would be a
Yeah, that's
notice.
what,
information which may be required by law.
Well, I definitely think what we list needs to reflect what it is that we actually send out.
Yep, yep. And if we,
Well, I think we do a lot of this, but I don't know if it's, like, it also goes into interested parties within 10 days prior to the hearing. But we do that. That's up top. Reference a specific parcel of real estate. Is unrelated to a zoning map change to, so that's gonna break it down to what it's actually for. If it abuts or includes a county line, or a county line street, or a road, or a county line body of water, and all owners of real property to a depth of 2 ownerships or 1/8 of a mile in the adjacent county, whichever is less, are interested parties who must receive notice under this subsection. That goes into the hearing. Then this is into Metro, which we're area, so we're not Metro. So the rest of it is Metro.
Brian, could you,
Would that apply to small towns, or would that be Marion and Gas City, that would apply to?
Metro would be incorporated areas.
which we don't have any.
So you have Metro, which would be incorporated, advisory would be unincorporated alone, and area is unincorporated plus one township, or one town.
So what's Upland, Van Buren, Sweetser, Swayze? Are they incorporated?
They're incorporated,
Okay,
but they're, in one area plan is unincorporated plus one. We're unincorporated plus 6.
okay.
Brian, could you do us a favor, maybe in the next meeting or two or something like that? Could you bring us in a sample of what we do give people when there's a request, maybe even pull a past one that we've done? And just let us see what that looks like. I don't know if anybody else would be interested. I'd be interested in seeing what that looks like. I think we need to know what's being sent out from our jurisdiction, right?
This is a great in-service for new members. I'm sorry,
Right.
we're taking
Yeah,
some time
yeah,
here,
yeah.
but,
No,
you
it's
know,
good.
I bet you there's people who sit here for a long time and haven't really
Yeah.
dove into the
Yeah.
information that we're discussing tonight.
Right. And I think that's the reason we need to go through these as well as the comprehensive plan and things like that. I mean, we really need to dig in and get some things done for the future for our county.
We
And
got,
so-
I mean, a lot of our paperwork we're working on, we at one point, and I brought it as an example before, when we talked about special exceptions in the BZA, we had an ordinance that said it was 4 questions, and rules of procedure said it was 7 questions, and the paper we handed out said it was 6 questions, and so, we're working through a lot of that, a lot of the older paperwork as we run into stuff.
Yeah.
That's, we hand out every day, just not looking at it. They hadn't been touched in 20 years.
Right, right. Okay, I think that would help us a lot.
Yeah. Well, educational. So 10.10, we need to add it, well, we need the change of the BZA thing in there.
Yes.
And then we need to add the line item in there somehow about a sign in the yard 10 days prior. Everything else looked to be okay? Then there's a filing procedures application. This is what they have to do when they come in, right? Guidelines, all petitions not initiated by the planning commission shall require application to the planning staff. Filing deadline shall be generally 21 days prior to each regular meeting. And that's actually on the schedule that we just approved at the last meeting. Meeting date and filing deadline. Unless otherwise notified by the planning commission as scheduled in the calendar published August. And approved by the planning commission in the final meeting of each year. Incomplete applications will not be accepted. Limit the public record. While application shall be completed by the appropriate filing deadline, additional information shall be allowed into the public record up to no less than 2 business days prior to the meeting date. No information shall be accepted into public record beyond 2 business days prior to the meeting.
And that is in red on the,
This was
That's
an
red?
issue. Did it read word
It
for word
does.
there?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, you got any more red?
On that page, we go into 11.1.3,
Right?
and then we go into 11.2, and it says, agenda, IC 514, is in red, but that's going to be on page 10 of you guys'.
Yeah, yes. So then talks about a non-refundable filing fee established by ordinance.
So going back to 9 here,
Yes,
we can't approve that one either because the changes that Ryan's gonna be putting in with the sign and
Yeah.
changing the APC, correct? So
But other than
that'll
that, it looks
so
pretty
that-
good.
It looks okay. So those are the only two that I think we
do
need
we
to.
want to vote on that with the changes, or you want to see the
I think-
changes?
I think we
before-
wanna
wanna
see the
the
changes
changes before we,
before
okay,
Yep.
sounds legit. So now we're talking about agenda. You got anything red under the agenda?
What's in red is 11.2.4.
11.2.4.
Okay.
Per Indiana Code IC 5-14-1.5-4, posting agenda, section 4, parentheses A governing body of a public agency utilizing an agenda shall post a copy of the agenda at the entrance to the location of the meeting prior to the meeting. A rule, regulation, ordinance, or other final action adopted by reference to agenda number or item alone is void.
And that is word for word.
Word for word.
And I add 11.2 agenda items, that should be read too.
What's that, 11.2?
The actual header for the 11.2 header,
Oh, the agenda per,
and pulled this out for the agenda.
And the other red items are 11.3.6.1 under order of business, APC attorney report. And then the next one, executive director report, that's in red. And then 11.3.7, public input is in red.
and those are things that we currently do, but then apparently they were not,
They're not part of it.
they weren't part of it in the past. Does anybody see any other questions or concerns on page 10? We did go down to minutes. I know we had discussions about minutes. Do we want to look at minutes and see how it's read? As far as length, shortness, if it kind of tells us what we should be doing there?
Question on 11.3, and I'm going to reference what we did at school. We actually had below, like 11.3 approval of minutes, we actually had, if there was an action that required a motion and a second and a vote, we had a line where whoever made the motion was filled in. Do you have a form?
That's what this is.
So you've got a form to be able to track that?
Yeah, so instead of it being on this, we have it right here.
Okay, that's good. That's where I was
Way of
headed.
tracking it.
That's where I was headed. Anything we can do to make it easier for you, we should do that.
Yep, nope, got it right there.
So I see the approval of minutes and finding of facts. Sometimes finding of facts is what we find out after a public hearing, right? Whether we approve, recommendation to approve, or whatever, there should be a finding of facts. That may or may not be able to be cemented in that meeting where that decision was made. It should come back at a later meeting for final approval, sign off.
Usually, and what David recommended too would be to be filling out those, you'll have those forms during the public hearing.
Right.
David suggested that those be filled out as the hearing's going. What you guys will do, you will fill out your findings. Those get turned into us, and then we pretty much put them all together into finding the facts,
Okay.
which at the following meeting, you guys would approve.
So that's something we've
Change
never,
or amend.
well, we've done very rarely.
So each member does a finding of facts.
Yeah, it is your, should you have an adverse ruling, it is your defense in court. So if you guys decide something and they want to appeal it, finding of facts are your guys's, here's why we did it. We just had this discussion in
So if, let's say I'm against something and Steve's for something, but the majority carries one way or the other, it just shows how each person's thoughts were
Right.
and what they felt.
Because you're answering, you guys would be doing rezoning, so you're answering specific, does it do this? Does it,
And how do you see that?
right,
And you have that form that you can give us
Yeah,
that
it
kind of
would-
spells those kind of things out so somebody can track it.
Yeah,
Then
it
you
would
just
be
make
in your
comments.
packets.
So it's in our, yeah, I see it in our packets, but usually you guys, as the office, also put your thoughts behind it.
Yeah, that's our
That
staff,
office
that'd be our
staff-
staff report.
Staff report, which usually covers all them items.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys only do it with rezonings, so we haven't done a lot of rezonings this year.
Yeah,
So it's not common nature.
I've never done one of these.
So like the last big one I know is when we had the CAFO, and and then it was written by a lawyer after the fact.
Right.
I still got in a sealed envelope at home, my finding the facts. I thought they were gonna ask us to turn them in, which we were very lax back then. And then, yeah.
So
So-
spot zoning requires that?
Mhm.
If we're gonna spot zone, which seems like we do a lot of that, does that require finding a fact if we're gonna do a spot zone?
Yeah, any decision that we would make coming out of a public hearing.
Related to a public hearing.
Wow. We haven't done any, I mean, I haven't done one since I've been on there.
If we do a no recommendation situation, we still have to do that? I mean, I know that we've been in situations where we've either
Here we go.
made a recommendation to a town or not. Does that require finding a fact?
Or is it,
Should.
should? Even though we're not the
It's-
final say-so? Or is it more when we're the final say-so?
It's basically behind your decision. I mean, it's basically why you made the decision you made. I don't think it's ever been an issue, because if you're sending forward favorable recommendations, it's never challenged or, well, we had the thing with the BZA that we came out of one of them and we only got one reply back, and instead of even explanations, it was just a yes, yes, no, no, and that's all we had for findings. So we had a little, David kind of talked to the BZA about, hey, here's what finding the facts are, here's why we need them. For the BZA, it's even more important because they are the final say.
So in the event a lawsuit was gonna be filed, it'd be more likely to be the BZA versus us?
Yeah, now for subdivisions, plats, and that sort of stuff, finding the facts would become a lot more
Right.
important, because you have the final say in those. Most of what we have come through, we should be doing finding the facts, but again, we haven't had anything really adverse that's making a whole bunch of people mad.
And how long does the board member have to turn in that finding of facts after a meeting? Is there a,
I mean, usually we would want it so that we could have it finished. So you're voting on it by the next meeting.
gotcha. So a couple days after the meeting, giving you time to kind of go through it and write it down, stub it, yes, no, yes, 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 no, no.
And a lot of times
Right.
you can have it done by the end of the meeting.
Yeah, okay,
Pretty simple.
okay.
But
Just hand
we've
it
already
back to
voted,
Nicole.
we've already voted a recommendation, yes, no, or whatever.
Correct.
This is just to formalize our finding of facts.
So if
It
we
doesn't
were
change the
challenged-
vote, because we've already made a vote. It's just formalizing our personal findings of facts.
It's defend the vote we
Yeah.
took.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the petitioner who was wanting whatever that was, and we ended up turning them down,
They would want to know
they want to know
why you
why.
felt that way.
And, okay,
And they may look at that and say, well,
that's not good enough.
That's not right.
I got an interpretation in there, so.
So Ryan, we're gonna count on you to make sure we have this finding of facts if that situation arises.
Right.
I would kind of agree with that. I mean, and to have us the sheets in the packet
Yeah.
that we could go ahead and do while we're sitting here. And again, if it takes more time, I mean, we may want more time to really kind of dive into it a little bit more.
Or Nicole will be ready to pass them out to us if we need them.
As long as they give me the copies from upstairs. Right now I'm out in the field, so I don't make any copies.
Because that format would be the same regardless of the situation, Ryan?
I think
You're- Finding
You're gonna
effect
have,
format.
you're gonna have certain questions for, you would have certain questions for a rezoning, you would have certain questions for a variance or a special exception. They have specific
And you've got those
questions.
templates? You've got those
Yeah, yeah.
templates that you would give us those right ones
Right.
for that particular, okay.
So it would follow the staff report.
Okay.
You know, it's usually, does this affect the general welfare and,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of stuff. I think property values.
Right. There's
Different things. I thought I had a finding of facts explanation in here somewhere. I'll find it and read it.
Okay.
Final disposition. All right, well, we're moving along here.
Can we go ahead and approve 10? I think we
I
got
think-
through that one, didn't we?
Well, we didn't talk about minutes and records, or did we get into that?
Oh, we did not.
So do we want to go down and
Yeah.
talk about minutes and records? Minutes, information in your.
You are just going to the bottom of 10, or are you going on over to
Well-
11 as well?
I thought maybe well, it does keep on going there, doesn't it?
Yep.
Well, let's go to the bottom of 10, or yes, 10, right?
Yes.
Want to just do 10? Any questions on the couple items listed for the minutes? Okay, and let's have a motion to approve page 10 as,
So moved.
Now,
David?
is that all of the minutes?
no, I think it continues down, but
We're just doing page by
we're
page.
just going to do page 10.
For ours, that's the end of the page.
For what we see on page 10, not to the
Right,
the
that's correct.
exclusion.
I
That's
got
correct.
11.4.2.
Okay.
It goes to. And then Jerry seconds it again, keep it easy for you. Call the roll.
Sure. Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Breed.
Yes. Okay, so we'll move on, continue with minutes on the next page 11, 11.4.3. Minutes of each. Okay.
So I guess
Yeah.
I'm seeing it's going into the petitioner information. What's that got to do with the minutes? I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost.
Yeah, I just got there. Ooh, I do remember reading this. Okay, so.
Can you explain, Ryan, from between 11.4.4 all the way down to 11.4.5.2.1? To me, what does that have to do with the minutes? In that whole section, I don't see anything about minutes. I see meeting must be advertised in suitable newspaper. I see everything but what we're talking about in the minutes.
Entered into the record.
Well, what I saw was, we make a motion to approve something
Okay.
with conditions. And it says in there, more or less, you don't have, if, the conditions doesn't have to be part of the motion as long as it's documented within the minutes and approved. That's the way I took it. Although normally we do make, a motion to approve with conditions, usually what we normally do, but it says the agreements or conditions are not required to be part of the motion. If they are part of the record. So they'd have to be in the meeting minutes. The petitioner will be held liable for the agreement conditions if not fulfilled to satisfaction. So if they didn't follow through with whatever the conditions were, we could pursue to get that corrected.
And I,
Right.
and I kind of understand that,
But then I guess the
what's it got to
petitioner,
do with the minutes?
Yeah.
That's what I'm struggling
Yeah.
with. Randy, do you have anything in red other than the per IC 5.3?
What I did is I went back when we sat down and discussed this, and Ryan had actually organized new, existing, and then what Dr. Bothwell's committee had done. This must have been originally in the rules and procedures.
Okay.
So no, there's nothing added. Now, he numbered them differently when it says
Somewhere
minutes
here
and
I
records.
outsmarted myself. That's what I think.
Yeah. So I think that, for whatever reason, was in there originally. For-
And like I say, I'm just trying to understand what's that got to do with the minutes? That tell me if I'm off base. I'm trying to
or
figure.
there's something that just got in there by cut and paste in the wrong spot or something.
That's what it almost looks like.
Cut and paste in the wrong spot, or not needed, or in this area?
Yeah, even the past rules and procedures have got wrong spot.
We have cut and paste back then?
Am I wrong, Ryan, or is there a reason to have all that in there in a minutes section of this rules and procedures?
I would think.
I think 11.4.4 is noting that all information entered into the record is considered an agreement
Okay?
by the petitioner. I think 11.4.5 is noting,
Read that next one, 11.4.6. That clears that up a little bit.
yeah, I think this is trying to say that petitioner may submit an appeal
For the minutes? Again, we're in the
for
minutes.
the agreement.
That's-
The agreement that's within the minutes.
Okay.
So if we made a,
Yeah.
so if there's recommendations,
As part of the record. So, yeah, you guys okay something that say, you gotta paint it and it's gotta be whatever. That is part of the agreement that is within the minutes. But if it's not part of the motion, then there can be an appeal to it. And this is noting that they may appeal, for any agreements or conditions entered into record, but not part of a motion.
so
Appeal
you
must
want,
be filed with the Plan Commission on an application form supplied to the Plan Commission with the required fee. The appeal must be at an advertised public hearing before the appropriate legislative body or one of their regularly scheduled meetings.
well, then, if you make any conditions, you have to have a, should make it in the,
Okay, so-
within the motion.
Okay, look, this has helped me. I went back to 11.4 minutes and records.
It's the
That's what
records
this
portion of
section
this.
is.
This
See,
is-
I'm thinking just minutes.
This is a records portion
Records
of that.
portion.
Right.
Okay,
How it can be
now
challenged.
I'm a little bit better.
How
I was
can-
trying to, because again, I was looking at it from a minutes
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, because that's what kind of, and then all of a sudden it goes into records.
So the
But
question is,
but the title is minutes and records,
do they
so
need to be combined, or should they be separated as minutes and records?
I think they could be together. I mean, but I just didn't see records. So now I get why that's in there. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's minutes and
Does to
records.
me, yeah. Yeah.
So we're including minutes and records.
Right, yes.
That's what I'm saying. I was just
Thought we were
thinking
just talking
minutes.
about minutes.
Just recording minutes, and I didn't see the record, so now this makes a lot of sense. I'm good.
And obviously, we changed the shall tape or video record. We added the video on 11/4/6.
Correct. Now, 11/5, we got into the situation here in the last meeting
With the BZA, I think.
about that representative. Is that the BZA or was that the APC?
BZA.
So is this in the BZA rules?
Yeah, I
The same
believe they're
language?
Mirrored.
You mirrored it?
I think they're, well, I don't have no BZA book with me.
So are you gonna, so do we need to add?
I think we've got must be present, but we don't have, they have to sign something to say representative, represent them.
I know attorney is an option, it was listed.
No, yeah.
Attorney, representative.
But we didn't, they wanted something documented that the representative had to get paid from them.
One guy shows up as a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Happened twice that meeting.
Right.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So we do have the must be present in BZA, but we didn't, the second one was a surprise. The first one we knew about, but didn't have documentation.
So do we want to put in here requested documentation from the petitioner to have that representative?
We could add a note that any representative must,
And you have some input, because they need to be the same.
Well,
11.5 says,
our board really likes to have the owner present or a legal representative. An attorney, we're good with that, or some signed statement that they are their representative and that they could not attend.
Do you have, when the attorney came, did he have a signed statement from the petitioner?
Probably not that we asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember when an attorney came. But there was one quite some time ago, and I think it was, well, now I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was the golf course and putting in an emergency management tower. That we couldn't get through the meeting anyway, and then when the meeting was continued, we asked that the owner be present for the next meeting. There was some good excuse why he couldn't be for the first one, but we wanted him there for the second one.
An attorney showed up for the APC with the service station at Fairmount.
Yeah, along with the manager.
well, that 11.5 kind of spells the petitioner's attorney, or their representative must be present.
Yeah, I do think we ought to have some sort of signed document that attorney or their representative, and we need to take a look at that. Whether that gets put to you or to the president, whoever that is, you know what I'm saying? I just think we ought to see some documentation that they are legally representing who's the petitioner. If the petitioner himself or
Is
herself
not here
is
to
not
say,
here.
yes, this person can speak for
And
me.
if they can't do that, you're gonna have to wait another month.
Would that document be something we generate for them to fill out, or
Probably. Could be a standard form.
Ryan, when
it
they,
could be a simple thing?
yeah, when they
Yeah, I mean-
when they come into your office or give you a call and say, we want on your agenda, do you ever cover that with them, that they need to be at the meeting?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
And with like the BZA for the first one, we knew they couldn't be here.
okay.
So we weren't expecting them to be here
And they said that they
on the
would
first one,
send,
but I didn't have any kind of documentation other than they had told me they work for UPS or something like that.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
yeah,
be
I
on the
remember
roll.
Should that document be included in a packet that's given to them originally?
Might not be a bad idea. That when they're the petitioners, and maybe something under there, whoever else could be speaking on their behalf,
Has
as
to
far
have-
as attorney
has to
and
have
or
a
my
signed
personal,
document. If
my
they don't,
personal
We don't hear
representative.
it.
That might not be bad to try to add it in
I
there.
agree.
Yeah.
That'd be the place to do it.
Again, trying to make sure that they don't run into a train wreck once they get here. Because again, I think the girl, I think, that came to the BZA, she thought she could do everything. And I agree with taking a pretty strong stance on that. We don't know who you are. You know,
Yeah.
anybody can come in and say they represent somebody, right? I just,
What if you turn it down? You know, then the owner thinks, well, I had been there.
yeah,
I
right,
noticed
right,
Different
right,
things that
right.
made it work.
And when we turn down a project like that or something like that, how many days do they have to wait before they come back in front of you?
A year.
A year. So it's like, so if we can, like I say, if that would.
I think that'd be a good place on
I
the
think
application.
On the application, you know, if you're not going to be here to represent yourself, we need this document signed, saying that.
These are who can speak for you.
Yeah.
And again, if we wanted to have Blickfield draft us up something where all they gotta do is date it and sign it, make it easy on them.
Well,
I'd be
for
comfortable with
liability's
that.
sake, it makes it our finding of fact was based on what that individual shared with us.
Correct, correct.
So do we want to go to the, keep it simple, or go to the, have Blickfield put something together?
I think if it's in the form,
And if they
Why
come
don't
in,
And
you
they
put
just-
something
and
together
it's
and
on
let
the check.
Blickfield approve it?
I say if they come in and say, I, Ryan, okay Nicole to be here with the signature, is that okay, or does it need to be something notarized and?
well, they're
To what
signing off,
extent?
they're paying the fee and signing it. A
I
lot
don't
of,
think it needs to be
yeah.
notarized. I think
if it's
yeah,
on the
they-
form, now if they change, let's say somebody else is, at the last minute's gonna fill in, then there maybe need to have some type of note, so to speak, but
I always feel comfortable using an attorney. I'd have Dave just write up something. That's a 5-minute thing for him. If not already online, and he can just grab it.
Should it, should it say they're verified representative per whatever form that we come up with?
Like,
Be good.
whatever Blickfield comes up with, that he's comfortable with, it, hold up in court of law.
Yep.
We'll call it
Right.
then.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying like petitioner's attorney or a verified representative must be,
Reference whatever form Whitfield comes up with, maybe. So if there's no question on their part, and we're covered,
And they need to bring that to the meeting.
yeah.
hopefully I've got it for your packet. Hopefully you
It should be included in the packet, so you know.
get
That's
that,
correct.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is when they come, they need to either hand that to you and say, I am the representative, or to the president, or whoever. I left that at home.
I mean, you should have it already.
Right?
They should have, before I ever give a staff report, they should have all that to me. So you're gonna have that paper in your packet.
Okay.
Of who the representative, signature,
Okay.
that he shows up, and it's not
And
the
if they,
same guy.
if they change up and they go ahead and use the same form, I
Right.
don't have a problem, because in 10 days, a lot of things can happen. Somebody go into hospital or whatever, and they still need to get it through and stuff like that. As long as they've got it signed off,
Right.
I think I think that covers us. I know it's picky, but
It hardly ever happens, I mean,
usually
that
if
was just
somebody's here.
an
yeah.
oddball that we knew
Yeah.
one was, but the other one
Yeah.
was a surprise.
Okay. Did we get through everything here on
11 on page
11 that we
11.
need to do?
If we talked about the representative applicant, But that's more a procedural thing to get the paperwork.
Yep.
But I think as far as the way it's written there, I think I'm good. Need a motion for page 11?
So moved.
Dave, Jerry, you gonna be the,
Yeah, I guess, unless somebody else wants to do it.
well, I'd make it easy when they go typing it up.
Atkins,
Now, that's pending this form that David's gonna create, right?
Well, that'll be part of the packet, right?
I don't
The
think-
application
I don't think
form.
in the rules and procedures, well, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to have it in there in the rules and procedures that we only accept the signed.
Yeah, That part of, that'll be on the application form, right? When they fill
It
out the
would be.
application. This is just saying when they're at the meeting here, the petitioner, petitioner's attorney, or the representative. And if the form is saying that those are the people that can speak for them.
Yeah.
And we need to know who they are.
I think I'm comfortable with
I
that.
like David's verified by the form, completed form.
Which is part of.
Which is part of the package.
Which is
what
part of the
attorney
packet.
On the packet wants.
Right.
All right, you guys convinced me.
Well,
Yes.
As long as the packet
and
gets
they're gonna
wrote.
commit their money to it, so that'll be good.
Okay.
All right.
Atkins is yes? You did Atkins?
Under pressure.
Royals,
Yeah.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes. And then we're doing staff reports. So all this is still on the petitions or filing more or less, right? So staff report is basically the finding the facts kind of, right? Of the office version.
Right.
Randy, anything on this page read?
Well, this page gets, this gets, see, the problem is I dug out
Oh, no.
the other one. And
That's fine. Because going back to when we did it in July or back in the summer,
yeah, I thought there was some things. Oh, I know, it's probably a lot more added. Yeah, this would have been the original one here that we worked with David and Brian and Chuck. This is the one that was passed out first, and this is the one that we're working on today. I think. Or is this the one we're working on today? But then I'm getting a headache. Let's see, is this one we're doing today? No, that'd be, okay, so public hearing. 12, page 12. I think they're looking to be the same.
Well, Randy's looking through at that. Do we want to set a time where we'll get out of here tonight? Because we're only halfway through, and I don't think we're going to get all that.
you don't think we're
far.
going to make it?
I doubt it.
But we're making, we have made, well, yeah, it's what, about 10 till 8? We still got
Well, that's not right. This is
You're halfway
right.
there.
another evening's worth of work probably.
Public hearing. This is-
And then catch up on all the, yeah, we probably, what do you want to go another, till 8 or 8:15, or how late do you want to go?
8:30 is fine. with me.
8:30-ish?
I just don't want to be here until
So
12.
we're real quick going to get into no changes, no changes, no changes.
All right?
So I mean, when we come back to look at it, we can look at the changes that we've made coming from tonight. I'll make sure I've got this correct, sorry.
Yeah, I don't want that one.
And I mean, we've got pages where nothing's been changed through,
This is today's.
Right, kind of like
you know,
the
our.
voting
the meeting,
online and all
the
that.
Conflict of, you know, all that sort of stuff is almost no change.
Okay.
So eventually, we're gonna hit it to where like 10 pages, there's no changes.
Well, that, I'm looking forward to that time.
All right,
Public hearings.
Yeah.
So staff report is okay.
This goes to 13.
So you're looking at public hearing, Randy?
Goes to 13.
The public hearing just basically outlines the time allotments.
I think he was looking at staff report. Is that right, Randy?
Well, it gets really kind of,
Squirrely?
it does, it really does. Is your public hearing in a third of the way,
It's number 12.
okay, is it a third of the way
okay?
down the page?
And we're actually on 11. 11.61. 11.6.1 is where we're
Okay.
picking up the page 12.
Okay. So what's in red, or what was in red is 11.6.14.
Point four,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a point 4.
I don't have a point.
11.6.1.4.
It says staff recommendations,
Staff
staff
shall-
shall propose recommended action. That's actually 11.6.2 on the one today.
Correct.
Yeah, I just found mine by red.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch more stuff added that I didn't have originally, before we get to public hearing. Do you see it on there, Frank?
No, I don't have
Do you
that.
see this?
Is it in blue?
Let's see, I don't have that. That stuff right there. Mine's not in red, yours is in red.
Because what I don't see what I do see is staff recommendation, items to be delivered and staff reports, and I don't see that anywhere on that one that we were on before. Oh, staff presentations. Additional information submitted. I don't see that at all on that original, or the one that we were working with originally for this one. Where'd that come from, Ryan?
Any party may provide support documentation to be delivered to the plan commission members along with the staff report. To do so, the party must provide sufficient copies to staff for each member of the plan commission, 1 copy for public record, 1 copy for legal counsel. Information to be delivered with the staff report should be submitted no less than 10 days prior to the meeting. Additional information. And then you've got additional information submitted too in there.
Here's staff
Oh, I know.
presentation recommendations here.
11.7. You guys got.
We don't
That's
have
the
seven.
additional,
I have an 11.
no, we don't have a 7.
No,
We
we
don't
don't.
have 7. I don't.
We've got an 11.7, additional information submitted as a title, but I think you guys were saying up,
I don't even have 11.7.
Either.
So,
oh, you don't have that?
so in going back doing old versus new, 11, you don't have 11.6.3 was in the original ordinance.
Yeah, see, I don't have that.
But we didn't look at it.
Want to get more?
When I was copying and pasting and putting it in order, there wasn't in there. And then 11.7, additional information submitted. That also was in the original ordinance, but we never reviewed it. It didn't make it into what we reviewed. So when I was copying and pasting and moving stuff, I had missed that column as far as putting it into the new.
So we're missing the section here.
Yeah.
That needs to be put in. So like 11.7 is missing, at least in mine.
Well, I think the 11.6 staff report
Yeah.
Right.
is all that, the 6.1, 6.1.1, 6.1.2, I mean, all those are showing up someplace on yours as well?
Yeah, and they're showing through 11.613,
Yes.
it's no changes.
Okay,
And then the staff report got moved, that got kicked out to 11.6.2. And then something we had discussed, because we had wanted 13 copies.
That's what I got. Yeah.
So
I got that.
the items to
But
be
it's not the
delivered,
same.
to be delivered with staff report is something that we had talked about, because if they bring something in, we wanted to make sure they had so many copies for the area plan commission, the lawyer.
Yes.
So something I thought, oh,
Yep.
that's something we talked about.
And that's in
and I forgot.
11.6.3,
Right.
okay?
And then underneath that, the additional information submitted,
And we've got 11.7, then it goes into 11.7.1.
okay,
That's what we're showing.
yeah. So that's what we were missing on the one,
Okay.
the original one.
And that's what you're missing, Randy?
That was not on the work that we did beforehand.
As a committee?
Correct.
So as I was going through and checking stuff off, I thought, oh, here's
Yeah.
something I missed in the middle of everything. And that was the additional information submitted.
Okay.
So basically what you're telling us is this is the first time we've seen that information.
Right.
Do we want to just read through all this, right?
Probably should.
And get through this whole thing? So you want to start up there with 11.6.1?
Those were the same. Start,
Okay.
it would be, staff recommendations the same, but we moved it over.
Okay.
It would be starting with 11.6.3 that we didn't see prior.
Correct.
Is that all right? Chuck, can I give you a break?
Yeah.
I'll read for a while.
Well,
Because the voice only goes so long, right? 11.6.3, items to be delivered with staff report. Any party may provide support documentation to be delivered to plan commission members along with the staff report. To do so, the party must provide sufficient copies to staff for each member of the plan commission, which is 13, one copy for public record, and one copy for legal counsel. Information to be delivered with the staff report should be submitted no less than 10 calendar days prior to the meeting. That finishes 6.3. Going into 11.7, additional information submitted. 11.7.1, application shall be completed by the appropriate filing deadline. 11.7.2, all parties shall be allowed to submit documents into public record up to no less than 2 business days prior to the meeting. Documents to be studied and considered by staff for use in the staff report should be submitted no later than 10 calendar days prior to the meeting. 11.7.3, the term document as used is to be interpreted in the broadest sense of that term and means the product of any means of recording information, whether by writing or otherwise. A document includes, but is not limited to, correspondence, letters, ledger sheets, contracts, negotiable instruments, agreements, memoranda, reports, notes, diaries, logs, calendars, telegraphs, telexes, face mail transmissions, summaries, invoices, bills of lading, receipts, checks, checkbooks, charts, graphs, drawings, blueprints, diagrams, worksheets, studies, bulletins, notice instructions, books, manuals, pamphlets, periodicals, journals, logs, indices, photographs, microfiche, microfilm, telephone records, tape recordings, movies, videotapes, computer discs, and/or other data compilations.
oh, boy.
There you go.
It's good it's not limited.
I'm so glad I read that.
Thank you. So most of this stuff needs to be to you 10 days before to get in the packet for you to thoroughly review. They can submit
To
more
get
up
it into the staff report.
to get into stuff. They can bring stuff in within 2 days before, but that may not, that'll be handed out at the meeting,
Right,
and we may not have full time to digest.
right.
But they're allowed.
Where'd you get that list of stuff?
That's from previous.
From previous, our rules? or
Yes.
Nothing with Indiana code?
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, when I
There's a lot of
was
stuff.
rearranging and moving it around,
Oh my
somehow
gosh.
I left that alone and lost it somewhere.
Just said everything.
Kitchen sink.
anything you feel pertinent
Wow.
to the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or to the petition.
I think your biggie there is you've got to have 10 days.
10 days.
Yes,
And the
yes,
number of
yes,
copies.
absolutely.
The rest of it's up to you guys whether I think it goes without saying applications should be completed
Right.
by the deadline. Documents is just a definition of what we're talking about.
Well, if I was a petitioner coming in and you gave me all those items to do, I'd grab everything I possibly could to try to sell my project,
All right.
right?
Mhm.
I think it's good to have all that stuff spelled out.
Okay. So that almost takes you down to the bottom, page 12.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and do public hearing down there that way we can go ahead and do this 12 if everybody agrees?
Okay, public hearing. This is how you open the public hearing. The president shall call the docket number of the item scheduled for public hearing and declare the public hearing open. The president shall explain the order of testimony for the public hearing and remind those wishing to speak to state their name, address, and comments for the record. The president may ask for the number of persons planning to speak on behalf of the applicant or in opposition, as well as the amount of time expected as necessary to propose, considering suspension and amendments to the time limits specified in the rules. So if we have a large crowd that wants to speak, then you may adjust the times larger. If it's something rather simple, the normal time slots seem to work. So I guess that'd be a judgment call by the president at the time. They want to expand the amount of, but they need to be evenly split overall. Do we want to continue on with that, or do we need to, because now we got two different,
Yeah, well, I think, I put a 12 up there to the top there.
okay? So that would be just up to there.
Yeah.
So this would be page 12, including 12.1. Well, the 12.1 kind of keeps on going on that page. Yeah.
So moved.
So moved? Second. This is for page 12 through public hearing 12.1.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes,
Reedy.
Yes. Okay, and your blue copy here is different. I think it just explains somewhat the mechanics of the meeting. So that we need to go back to 12.2, what we're looking for. There's 12.3, there's 12 points. Staff presentation and recommendation.
So added here was the 12.2.1, as far as the defining the recommendation as a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation.
that's what was added.
That's what was added.
Do you see that in red, Randy, or not?
Yeah, I've got his sheet now.
Oh, okay.
I found it in
Oh.
the back of my book.
There you go.
Okay.
12.2, and then under there, 12.2.1, shows staff shall give staff recommendation. They will know.
Now, what's the IPA know your role?
That's, yeah, that's in the
Indiana
blueprint.
Planning Association.
Okay.
But
was
that
part
is
of
not in
original.
the rules, is that just information there feeding
Yeah,
us?
that was just, it outlined chairman's role, staff's role, director's role, attorney's role.
So that's not going to be in our
No, no,
rules.
that was,
That's just information.
That's the first time I've seen that.
Okay.
So that will not be in the rules and procedures then?
The blue
that
thing?
was for you guys.
That was just for us, gotcha.
That's
Yeah,
part of the original
info.
booklet.
That's
Gotcha,
info right
gotcha,
there.
gotcha. Great.
Okay, so we're looking at 12.2.
Right, staff presentation and recommendation. Now, I have a, shouldn't that be after the public hearing? Because if they're making a recommendation before the public hearing even begins, that doesn't seem very logical to me. Now, we may ask for you to explain what's going on, but not give us a recommendation at that time. But it does say right? Because I don't think we want to
It's
be
an
biased.
interesting-
I don't think we want to be any type of biasness before the public hearing is done, right?
It's an interesting,
It's usually done before a vote, isn't it?
Yep.
When we ask
Well,
for his
after it's
recommendation?
After it's closed, the meeting, the hearing's closed, then we talk, and then usually somebody will ask, well, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Right.
when do you usually give us that recommendation?
Usually
Well-
during Presentation. Dr. Bothwell a lot of times likes to ask at the end.
But you know what? Your recommendation is in the packet already. We've already
Right.
seen it. It's in the packet. We know what it is. It's just not
Made public.
made public.
Right.
That's a good point, Chuck. Because we should be listening to the petitioner,
Right. So does that need
so
to
we
be?
don't have any bias or anything by him stating early on that, you know, this is coming to you with a favorable recommendation, then we have the public hearing and he speaks. Huh.
Yeah. Even though we know what the staff report
Correct,
says,
correct.
but,
I think you guys are gonna figure out what my recommendation's gonna be most of the time through my,
well, yeah,
if I give you 10 things that doesn't meet code
Right.
or zoning.
Correct.
and-
right,
Correct.
right.
Correct.
But I don't know if that needs to be spelled out before they can get up and talk.
Right.
That'll close the hearing.
Should we put something
Should it go
when it
later?
says, when it says staff shall give staff recommendation, because that's during the staff presentation and recommendation. I was thinking, as you talked about the project, that's when that you would give us your recommendation, or am I wrong?
That's, usually I would present it.
Just present it, but no,
Just present it.
so that should maybe change to just staff presents petition.
So maybe
The
staff
petition.
presentation, and then we talk about the public hearing after that, and then staff gives recommendation, maybe?
Closing of the hearing and
Well, then
then
close the
staff
hearing.
recommendation.
And then before a motion is made,
Does that make sense?
close the hearing.
Because I think that's, I mean, we aren't supposed to have any bias. We're not supposed to, conflict of interest, bias,
Before we-
we're not supposed
Yeah,
to,
till we hear.
yeah, until we hear the public hearing.
Gentlemen, it is in state code that the staff
Right,
can give a recommendation.
Right.
They're the only ones allowed.
right. Yeah, but I think it needs to be done after the public hearing probably,
But
I
if-
would
It's
think.
usually in the staff report.
Well, yeah, we
when
see
that-
it,
When that's allowed.
right. And, I mean,
Kyle said it was like the deputy prosecutor presenting to the judge
Okay.
is going to give his findings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how he put it.
Okay.
So it would be, here's my findings and my recommendation.
And maybe I'm making too big a deal out of it,
Need
but
to
I,
leave it alone.
That's just how it was explained to
Yeah.
me.
well, I mean, we can, it just seems a little that we're asking for, because we hire a staff and a director to do the research and find the proper yeses and nos of what's going on to make our decision. So we want to leave it there, or do we just, although most of the time you just discuss what the petition's for, you usually don't give a recommendation at that time.
Right.
It's usually after the hearing closed, we discuss, and then it usually comes up
okay.
to get it on there. So do we need to leave it worded just like that? Or should we change it? I mean, that's what we normally do. Just leave it alone?
Let's leave it.
Okey-dokey.
So
Okay, so leave 12.2 and 12.2.1 alone.
And then you're into your procedure for
Right.
public hearing.
So a
So
public hearing, yeah, 15 minutes, unless it's changed ahead of time because there may be a large group. And then the opposition has 25. And then the petitioner can rebuttal for another 10 minutes. So if that makes it to that point, then the public hearing is closed.
Do we want to go ahead and approve 13, which is only that lower
Yep.
portion at this point?
Right.
So
We can go.
moved.
Here we go.
This is page 12, right?
That's
Page 12.
13. 13.
Oh,
We'll go
okay,
right on
because
12.
we're on a new page, we're in a new,
Yep.
we're in a new thing here now.
Yep, 13.
Okay, 13. So we have a, by David and second by Jerry again. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, second, yeah.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Huddell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes. So then at page 14 of the latest and greatest version with some blue ink in there. Okay, so once again, go on 15 minutes for the petitioner, 25 by the opposition, back to 10 for rebuttal, then the hearing is closed. Combine, upon completion of rebuttal, the bus shall declare it closed and invite the planning commission to initiate discussion on the petition. Public comment without solicitation from the planning commission is not permitted after the public hearing is closed. So it should be just between us. I guess if we have a question specifically for a person outside of our group, we could do that. But they should not be talking back to us. The planning commission shall be granted adequate opportunity to examine petition.
You do have the one change on 12-7.
Yeah.
Roll call.
We added the roll call, and then continuances is one of them that the Rules Committee wanted to bring back.
Wanted to bring back.
Yeah, the original continuance called for the executive committee to make a decision on if someone called in to do it a continuance, that the executive committee would have to be called together to decide on the continuance. We talked more as far as having any type of continuance prior to the public hearing. So that's kind of how we wrote it. So some of this is different because everything was to the executive committee on continuances. There was nothing to the plan commission. That's one.
So this rectifies that.
Rules Committee kind of put together and wanted to read through.
Like,
By parties other than the applicant, so, because the applicant can say, I want to put a hold on this, if they're not ready yet, or they
Right.
want to hold. But this would be the opposition requesting that for more time.
That puts a lot of, if the public hearing is next week, and I do it today, how's the executive committee going to get together prior to? It just puts a lot of pressure on an executive committee for a continuance. Now granted, since I've been here, I don't know that we've ever had someone outside of the applicant ask for a continuance. But it is,
Okay, so the request for continuance shall be heard by APC before the scheduled. So we would do it at the meeting before the public hearing if we want to continue, if they have a valid point. Kind of like, I think, when we had the printing shop, the guy said, well, I was only given a little bit of time and this and that. So I think, so that'd be a situation.
so you'd hear that prior to the public hearing.
Right.
Instead of during the public hearing.
Right, have to do it before. But you would be aware of it through the office, because they're
Right.
supposed to notify 48 hours before. So we would know that would be part of the agenda.
Right.
It should be part of the agenda to review. And hopefully we get emails saying this is part of what's happening.
and that takes us through what?
That goes to 12.8.5.
that would be page 14.
14? Yes. Do we have a motion? So moved?
So,
Yeah. Second? Page 14, basically.
Up to 12.8.5.
Up
Correct.
to
Up to 12.
Up to 12.8.5.
Yes.
Not 12.9.
No,
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Andy?
that covers the whole continuance thing.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
yes.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes. Okay, about 15 more minutes. Waiver of amendments for time limits. Time limits may be suspended or amended, and new time limits established only upon request or consent of the president. It's understood that the deviation from the time preparation rules, 12.3, .4, .5, is to be granted only in extraordinary circumstances and will not be routinely permitted. So kind of like, yeah, so it's a major discussion, then we may, that's done before we even get started. Postings of procedures, a copy of section 12 of the rules shall be available to the public at each meeting. So that's for the whole rules and procedures, or just for public hearings?
This is a copy of section 12.
Oh, okay, so that would be
Yeah,
this here.
that's your
Okay.
laminated.
Okay.
I carry one and the president carries one.
Oh, I did?
That's your, you
Yeah.
know,
Now, the rule,
You had one.
the steps that we're supposed to
yeah.
take.
So you're, right now, where you're at, all the way through, and up to 15 is all word for word ordinance prior.
Through 14, but not 15. So final disposition of the case? Roll call vote.
So moved. Second.
Hey, man. Does this talk about our finding of facts in here? Final disposition,
And we're running this through what number again?
13, all the way up to and in conduct. We're gonna try to,
So it'd be going through 14.4?
that's what I think we're trying to do.
Yeah,
Because there's no changes from the current.
Yep,
that's my motion, yes.
gotcha. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
15.
Of conduct by the public.
Mhm.
Any questions on those? Give time to read through it quickly. All right. Anybody got a motion
Yeah.
for page 15 going up to 14.4?
Yes.
Jerry, you second again?
second, yeah.
All right.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes. And now we got conduct of planning commission members. I see some red here. These are things that were added.
15.1, we added the code at the end of the sentence.
No member of the planning commission shall represent applicant or applicants on matters at the planning commission. Well, that makes sense. Conflict of interest. Any case in which he or she is biased, prejudiced. Okay, so basically, if you have an interest in it, you need to remain neutral. That's what it's saying, right? Then they're saying, relationship constituting conflict of interest. That's all probably really stated previously. Do we need to go further or approve page 16?
The relationships wraps into page 17.
Yeah, yeah,
Go ahead and grab that.
yeah. We'll go all the way down to
15.
15.3, 12.1.
Yep.
Anybody?
So moved.
Okay, so we're doing page 16 plus into number 15.3.12.1. David made the motion and Jerry so graciously seconded again. Call the roll.
Atkins,
You guys were moving pretty fast on me here.
Well, we can hold up.
Yeah, when I read 15.2, I think it
15.2.
would be a very difficult task to make a determination as far as biased or prejudiced. I remember when we stood before the county council and Mr. Connor shared that any time that you vote for something, that's an expression of bias or prejudice, because you had to have some sort of feeling about that which guided your vote. Now, when we talk about financial interest, whether it be loss or gain, I definitely believe that that could be a grounds for conflict of interest to some degree. But just to put biased and prejudiced in there, that'll never hold up in court. And
That's
that-
code.
It's
That's
code.
code?
Yeah.
It is code.
A member of the plan commission is disqualified and may not participate in a hearing of that commission concerning a zoning decision as described in section 1016 of this chapter if the member is biased or prejudiced or otherwise unable to be impartial, or the member has a direct or indirect financial interest in the outcome of the zoning decision. And then it goes, that's actually been put as part of the first paragraph.
Do they talk about how that's going to be confirmed or determined? Biased or
So
prejudiced?
that's kind of as we go down.
Notification of conflict of interest, determination of conflict of, that's 15.4.
We haven't gotten there
We
yet?
haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. All right. Considering that's Indiana code, Nicole, I will vote yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Huddell,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes. Where are we at? 23 after.
I'll tell you what, we're getting close.
Okay, notification of conflict of interest.
No changes.
No changes. So upon suspicion of potential conflict of interest in the case of membership. So if you feel you have a conflict of interest, you need to tell the president or vice president or council. Okay, and then I guess that
Can you
person,
abstain from voting
I guess you would,
if you feel that?
I think you would. I
That's-
mean,
That's how I've.
yeah.
That's.
But I think if you think you potentially have one, then you should contact the president, vice president, or talk to the lawyer and say, hey, this is my situation, what do you think?
Prior to?
I've got
I would think so.
I've got a real good case. Anytime when I was on the city council and I worked for General Motors, anytime that they would come in ask for a tax abatement or anything like that, I abstained. I worked for them. To me, it's a conflict of interest. You can't, I don't think you should be voting on something that can benefit either your employee or your employer, or to have a direct, because who knows what kind of bonus I may get if I try to get something through.
So did you express your,
I did.
your conflict?
I sure did.
At the
I worked
time
for
of
General
your?
Motors. I did,
Okay.
at the vote.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to me, that's what this is stating. This is stating that I, as an individual, and again, I tell you, there was a couple things that was very close on the vote. I mean, where maybe if I voted the other way, or if I voted,
Rather than voting.
I mean, and if somebody wanted to challenge that, they could challenge it. And so I always abstained from anything with General Motors. I'm trying to, there was a couple other things I was involved in that, you know, I think it might have been, was it on the Growth Council, because I serve on the board? I abstained from that.
So tell me, Steve, when you did that, but did you participate in the rest of the meeting just when it came to voting? You didn't sit there silently, or?
I did sit there silently.
Okay, and didn't
because
say,
I didn't
didn't want
think I-
to influence other
My
people?
influence, my bias
Okay,
would, you know, I didn't want that to happen.
Okay.
And again, boy, on something like that, I mean, it's pretty, I mean, you know, General Motors received $491 million
Yeah, that's a
in
little bit,
tax
yeah.
abatement at 100% for 20 years. Was that something we should have done or not? Had I been on the council, that would have come up, and I'm thinking, you know, does the company want me to vote that way?
Oh,
Absolutely.
I would think so.
Right?
yeah.
So again, you know,
Yeah.
you just excuse
Yeah.
yourself from those kind of things, and then that way there is no conflict of interest, there is no bias if you're not sharing information, and I just never did do that. I mean, it's just an example.
You want the interpretation from Indiana Planning?
Yeah,
Planning Commission rules should include a definition of a conflict of interest and a means for determining conflict in cases of uncertainty. Each commission member needs to be responsible for declaring any potential conflicts. It is recommended that in cases of uncertainty, the commission should make that determination. The potential conflict is the potential conflict is publicly announced, and the commission members deliberate amongst themselves. The public should not be permitted to participate in this determination. And then the other IPA, the rules also should specify the conduct expected from a member who with a declared conflict of interest. The law says the member cannot participate. This language prohibits the member with a conflict from taking part in the discussion as well as voting. At minimum, the member should leave the commission table and join the audience. Plan commissions may not represent another person in a hearing. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's in another section here. So that determination of conflict of interest is 15.5, kind of talks about it. If we come to the meeting and say, I think I got a conflict of interest, then the rest of you guys decide if that person should vote or not. And it has to be done through a roll call vote.
So Ryan, that code that you have stated under 15.5, is that above it, word for word from code?
233?
15.5, yes, 223. 36-7-4-223 is what you have stated under at the end of 15.5, determination of conflict of interest. Is that,
That is the membership of commission, conflict of interest, and disqualifications. So actually, what is written is the same as we had before. I just added the code to the end of it as a reference.
okay, so it's not text duplicate of the code, it's just referencing that code?
Right.
Okay.
So it talks about conflict of interest brought before us, and we vote on whether we feel the person should vote. Then disqualification right off the bat, which I think you kind of alluded to. .7, ex parte contract.
and I think we should read 15.7.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
So everybody understands
Although
what
not
we
encouraged.
are responsible for. think that's something that's very, very important to us, that we kind of understand our roles. And sometimes I know we get passionate about things and stuff like that, but we do have rules and procedures that we have to follow as a commission. And if we're not, there could be some lawful type things done.
So, yeah, so people trying to influence you beforehand.
Absolutely.
So I know, and I'm sure everybody else, I get email after email almost every day related, just information on solar.
Yep.
I think one day I had 8 in one day. Everybody get the same?
Sure.
So it's things like that. I mean, you've got to be careful. I mean, we do need our due diligence and research, but make sure we weigh. Okay.
And responding to some of those.
Yeah, I don't
stuff,
respond to
maybe.
any of it. I may read it or I may just delete it. Okay, so that takes us almost to the bottom. What in the world is the mumbo jumbo there? Prior. Public but no matter. So basically, you're not supposed to express any opinion before the public hearing. That's what 15.8 is trying to tell us. You want to make anybody have any questions on page 17? We good with what's there? Up to and including the 15.8? Good? You make a
Looks good
motion?
to me.
So moved.
Supposed to be 17, correct?
This will be basically page 17, including 15.8.
I'll second that, I guess.
All right.
Nicole can't get that wrong, can she, through the night?
Neither could Grace when she goes to write these.
Thank you.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudill,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Breedy.
Yes. So page 17 and 18
You guys are
and
testing my
19.
bladder.
Well, I know, it's 8:33. So all this red we're seeing in 18 and 19, this is for electronic participation in the meeting. And that is an ordinance,
You guys.
we
have already
passed
adopted
that, right? So that should be exactly what we passed in there,
it.
right?
It's a copy and paste.
Right. And it is state code that you can do meetings so many in a row.
Right.
You can only vote so many in a row before you have to be present. So that covers, so that should be just straightforward. It's red because it was not in the original.
Right,
It
we
was
we
never in
adopted
the
it, but it
original,
never
but we
got put in.
passed a resolution or an ordinance covering that,
Yeah.
right? So then the only other thing would be
So that
number-
takes us up to 17,
So
correct?
right.
So page 18,
page 18, want to just do that as one item?
So moved.
Page 18 up through and including 16.12.16.
Yes.
And Jerry, you
I'll second it.
got laryngitis there?
No, I was shocked.
Okay.
Atkins,
Yes.
Broyles,
Yes.
Caudill,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Wright,
yes.
Breedy.
Yeah. Suspensions and amendments. So this looks like it's all black, so this is currently in the ordinance or in our rules.
No changes.
So suspension. So we could suspend the rules.
And I think the need for that is what we discussed if we're going to cite Indiana code and Indiana code changes, then we have the burden of making that change. And I think, and we kind of talked about how reasonably we think that should occur within a time frame.
Well, with what we just did, I mean, we literally 75% of Indiana code had changed from what we just did. And did it in no time frame.
What now, one more time?
I said 75% of what we had in here that was Indiana code has changed.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
what we just corrected.
Correct,
I
correct.
mean, this would be something, usually codes go into effect July 1st, generally. They're usually published in September.
So we're good through July.
This gives me a target of September to go through and see what changed. It also gives me the codes to make it a lot easier to go look and see.
Now, in the school business, we were given those specific pages in which those code changes occurred. Will you get it in a condensed form like that?
It'll get well, we don't get it that broke down.
Because we had to keep our code book current, and as those codes change, we swapped pages.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
So
how
you're
did,
codifying
Yes.
what
Yes,
you have.
that's correct.
Now, with our ordinance, we do that. So anytime we would pass an ordinance, that happens. We get new pages and we update the digital part of it.
so
So
what
by the
would,
way, if you don't have, for the last 3 years, digital, our ordinance and land use and everything is updated. For 2 years, they didn't give us digital, so we had to go through and do it. But now, the 10 or 15 things, along streams, the bed and breakfast, all that stuff is now all
Uploaded.
updated on land use tables and aerial plat.
so what would be your plan, Ryan, to make us aware of code changes?
I'd bring them in. I don't think, as long as we stay up on them, it's not gonna be anything like this.
But I think what Mr. Atkins is asking is how do you know when there's changes, right? Randy?
Well, I'll know every September
They send it
to
out.
get through it at least once and check.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Of what's changed at the state level that filters down, you'll read through and,
yeah, it's when they get published. So when I
Okay.
can actually get online and pull it up.
And it lists, I see
I
where.
can't believe there's not a summary of
That's
the
what I'm saying, that's
changes.
what I'm seeing, so do you get any kind of summary like that you
There
go and refer
probably
to?
is if I
Okay.
look at it. I'm ICC certified, and the whole staff is, so there's probably something I can get.
yeah, I would
Like
think
I would
so.
think there's gotta be
Summary
something.
of action
We're not-
taken at the class.
Because I'm sure every legislature isn't involved in every code change. At some point, they have to be made aware
Aware.
of what changes have been made.
Yeah. Now, in our code books are actually marked for what's new, what's been pulled. Hey, there used to be something here, no longer.
Okay.
They've got different lines and stuff like that. So building codes, we know, as far as this goes, there might be something I can sign up for or something,
Yeah, look into it.
yeah.
Sure, there's gotta be a short version of all the changes.
But
So,
again, our
Just
whole,
pulling back to this, so.
yeah, 17.
19,
Well, page 19, but bullet point 17.
correct.
So are we good? Because that really is no change. Says we can suspend rules.
So moved.
Jerry? Call the roll.
Atkins.
Yes.
Broyles.
Yes.
Bodell.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes,
Reedy.
Yes. Now, we're basically through this, but
except,
Steve, you wanted to talk about minutes in the book, in the makeup of how we record the minutes. Should be longhand, shorthand, is that what you're trying to get at?
well, I mean, I think that's what the discussion was.
Well, I know that
right?
came up in the past, trying to
Yeah.
get minutes passed.
Yeah, and again, I mean, minutes are important, but the video and the audio,
I can
It's
tell
the
you
whole
our
thing.
frustrations is they're either too much or they're not enough.
I know.
And in that the last meeting, we had a discussion that it was too detailed, we needed to, you
Bear
know,
it back.
bring it back, but then the very next minutes, there weren't enough details in it.
Correct. So I understand your frustration.
So, I mean, I've done them, Brenda's done them, Nicole's done them, Grace is doing them now, and I'm trying to, hey, basic, what was said, who motioned, let's leave everything.
The official business definitely needs to be
And again,
recorded,
I think it's the
discussion.
majority of this group decide what they want.
I don't think we want a transcript, that's definitely, we don't want a transcript.
No.
Not as long as our
Word.
meetings last,
No, word for word.
but I think more for,
And again, I understand, you know, if there's stuff that's left out that one member thinks that should have been in there, I get that. But I think that's where you go ahead and do the amended minutes, if something is missed that needs to be in there. That's my take.
just that one line item or two, but not
Yeah.
saying, well, it needs to be longer or shorter.
Right.
If you feel there's something that's noteworthy that should be in the, but really, I mean, roll calls and votes, motions, making sure they're
They're all in
accurate,
there.
discussion, the motion was made, and then the roll call. It can be that simple, really.
Yeah. And then if there's a question, you just roll back the video and the audio.
I tried to go back to some of our, I'm trying to think of what it was. We at some point okayed something, and I tried to go back to see when it was approved and what it was. In some of our minutes from 10 years ago, it says ordinance, whatever, motioned, seconded, and it has the count, but it never says what it was.
Well,
And I think in our thing, we just said you can't do that.
Yeah. Well,
You
this-
can't
this
refer
was-
to a number on the docket number, it has to be spelled out for us. So, yeah,
We had several.
that was very
years.
simple then, that was very
Yeah.
simple. Did
I-
you,
I like the minutes the way we had been doing them, because sometimes there's some discussion that goes on that is noted in the minutes that's important for me to reference to, or to at least know what we talked about. And if you're relying on the video, it's not that reliable to be able to hear. Sometimes the audio is really terrible on that. So I don't necessarily agree with Dr. Bothwell in regard to, that, you know, now, unfortunately, it's left up to the discretion of whoever's taking the minutes to some degree.
right,
You know, and I agree that if we feel that strongly about something, we can remember from month to month what was important, you know, that we can always add it to it, I'm assuming. But then again, do you want to carry that over to the next meeting? Because if you amend it, then it has to come back
Right.
again.
and ideally, we got 10 days, we get the minutes ahead of time, you should be able to review through, and if you got something that you think is left out, I guess, call in and,
I mean, would that work for you guys if the members would take a look at that and then say, hey, we'd like to add this to the minutes as well, just to make sure it's in the minutes?
or clarification.
I mean, to me, that's
I
a
think that would be,
simple,
I would think that would be the time for us to review it.
or even an email to you, just letting you know, hey, here's something that I think should be in the minutes, that I didn't read in the minutes. Would you please put it in the minutes?
See, the other thing we're asking the person taking the minutes to do is to adhere to what the BZA wants. And now we gotta turn around and adhere to what the APC wants. I mean, if we could come up with a common standard, it's gonna be easier for that person taking the minutes because of what
Yep.
they feel that they need to be putting down. Otherwise, do I put this down, do I put this down?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, that's, you know, and my hopes, again, you know, with Grace, she's gonna take a lot of those, you know, she's our catch-all. So a lot of that busy work, but even with that, you know, I don't want her spending, you know, we got into some of those solar where I took over and did them. I mean, you guys paid $300 for the minutes, for me to do them, and be that detailed. You know, but that was because we tried to, you know, some stuff got left out, some didn't get, you know, some was too much, some was not correct or missing. So, yeah, I don't want her spending 8 hours a week
Trying to
You know,
figure, detail.
doing minutes. Because, I mean, with her, and like most of us, we get started on minutes, phone rings. We get back into it, you know,
Yep.
stop the video, and now someone comes in and we do a permit. We get back to the video and start it, and the phone rings.
so are you referencing the recording when you do the minutes?
And our note taking. So anything that I write on these, she'll put them in there and
Absolutely.
tell us who votes.
So, I mean, she actually watches the meeting and goes through the meeting with who voted.
Well, then we need to make the meeting shorter.
Good luck.
And of course, with me in and out of the office, I usually help her where I can.
Yeah.
So anything she has a question on, I'll come back, oh no, that's not what they said. I know that's what you kind of heard there, but due to paper shuffling, this is what happened. But normally, that's not how it goes. Normally, it's my chicken scratch that she has to ask about.
I can understand that.
Or she, you know, she hears someone motion, but the camera's over there, but you motioned, and
Who was that? Yeah.
So that's why And Steve, did you want to say something else then, or did I?
No, I think that was it. What I was gonna say was, I think there was only, what, 2 pages that we didn't get through that we're
Yeah.
gonna have to come back to?
Refer to.
That's what I'd like to make sure that's in the minutes of this
Is that too?
meeting, right? Is that we say, so it's.
That very first page that we
is
start
it
looking at.
6, maybe?
And we're seeking David's response to a couple of things,
Yeah,
correct?
Correct. That was on page 8, is what I had. 8 and 9.
Well, David wasn't feeling good and thought he might be coming down with COVID. That's why he's not here tonight.
Good for
I
him.
guess we forgot to mention that.
Yeah, stay home.
And then were they going, no, we're gonna leave the technical committee shall in place. Was that what we decided?
Yes.
Okay.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
So, probably update it, and then at the next meeting, regular meeting, or did we try to do another one beforehand? Do it at the regular
I
meeting?
think a regular meeting, don't you?
Tidy up on those few things?
no more than there is.
That shouldn't take us.
Because everything else has basically been get those two under wraps.
Yep.
And then we should be able to vote as a whole. Or do we need to vote as a whole, or is that every section's been updated?
I think you still vote.
Vote as a whole package?
The whole package.
Then there's no question.
Well,
And
maybe
then you
that.
sign off on it, right?
Yeah.
You have to sign off on the rules.
Probably.
Or whoever the
Whoever-
whoever the president is at that time.
They sign, I attest, and then I'll get it to Brian and
Okay.
it'll go up.
Okay.
So we probably get the last two adjustments to maybe have a fresh, uninterrupted copy. No
No
red.
red.
No red, no blue, what it is,
I don't know.
what it is, what it is.
But again, after 2 years, I've got about 15 different copies
So you better-
of both APC and BCA.
Well, it's a long drawn out process, but I think well needed. And again, going through it as a member, I think it's been good for all of us.
All right.
That was the goal at the
I
beginning.
apologize for my phone going off twice. I thought I had it shut
I
off.
don't know if that was in our rules, I think that was a $25 fine.
There was.
I think
Or they should bring a pie next week.
All right, well, this is what we had business for, I don't think there's any other business. Make a motion to adjourn,
I'll move.
all in favor?
Wait, no,
What?
let's go ahead and keep this. on
Oh,
Let's keep it
David made the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
My last motion.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? There you go.
Phone, you shut it off and it says it's off. I don't know what it does, but sometimes it somebody else.
We'll just, I get up at myself and don't think, and they're all looking at me, I just figured I'd give you